Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome. Ding, ding, ding went the bell. Cling, cling, cling went my wife, who is ringing and doing some stuff. Hello, hon. How are you? Good morning to you. That's my wife, Joyce. Ringing the bell. I'm myself, Dave Lefkowitz, host and producer of this long-running radio show, cum podcast, cum college radio program, cum video podcast called Dave's Gone By. Boy, oh boy, that was a pretty mighty cum shot. Here we look who's with us. It's Papito. Hey Papito, how you doing? Oh, he's still sleeping. Look at him. Look at baby. What? What? You want a new friend?
Oh no.
I guess Papito wants a new. What kind of friend would you like?
How come he suddenly learned to talk? He never talked.
We communicate telepathically. Yeah. Okay, wait. Okay. Tell you what.
No.
Guess what came in the mail, everybody?
I think he wants some juice. Give him some juice. He wants some juice. He heard you have juice.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of weeks ago, I shared with you my discovery of a beverage that I bought at a supermarket near where my wife's parents live. It's about a block down from their house. And they live in at least what used to be kind of a Polish neighborhood. It's now much...
It used to be Italian and German, and then it was Dominican and Puerto Rican, and now it's Egyptian, and there's a lot of Eastern European, so Russian, Polish, that kind of stuff.
But there's still a Russian-Polish contingent, and the supermarket, as markets should, caters to the neighborhood, caters to what people might want there, as opposed to where we are on Long Island, which caters to the tastes over here. So there are things that you can get in my in-laws' supermarket that you can't get here. Among them, this beverage, which I think I showed you a month ago, and the carton is still mostly full. Should tell you what I really think of it, but you might recall my sharing good Hortex Barczyk, which is of course the Chernowy of the Doskalny na Ciepło. And if you can see by the actual visual of it, when you open it, because I really didn't know what the hell to expect when I opened this magnificent carton of Hortex Barczyk, and turned out it's beet juice. So it's very savory, and I like beets, but more in borscht. I like it hot. It would not occur to me, and there's something a little bit like about drinking cold beet juice. I should try it with like sour cream in it and see if it makes it taste any better. It's got a Novi carton, which is my favorite kind of carton. And I guess it's from a good part of the Climato in the world. And it's 100% something. So I'm glad it's not 93% or even 73%. It's pure Barczyk. And it does actually list some stuff in English here, but the print is so unbelievably small, I can't read it. Ingredients: juice from something. But if you look here, if you look very closely, actually I can read easier here. Beetroot apple juice. Savory. So this was Hortex Barczyk, which you saw me drinking on this program a couple of weeks ago. I'm not doing an ad for them, God knows. But I'm just saying this exists. And it's not like some specialty store. It's not like you have to, cross the Ukraine somehow to get it.
You missed. So if you look at the other side, you go through the front door of that supermarket.
Oh yeah.
There's a huge. It's like a Costco for all Polish stuff. They have like the Polish emblems. It's all Polish food.
And the weird part, and the Polish, it's all from Australia. Who knew?
It's probably made in Australia. No kidding.
So now that I became enamored of the delicious Hortex brand, went back to that.
What do you think Hortex is? What does Hortex mean, honey?
For all I know, Hortex could be a place in, but it sounds Mexican. It doesn't sound like a Polish thing. Or it could have been
Spell it for me. Spell it.
It could very well be like a textile.
How is it? HORTEX?
Yeah. It could, for all I know, this is a textile company that got into juice because they're both dealing with fiber. Hortex. So yeah, Hortex makes a lot of stuff. They make a lot of mielko.
Hortex is a key player in the Polish FCMG MJG market and a leader in frozen fruit and vegetables. They have 40% of the market.
Good God.
The firm's iconic brand and impressive distribution capabilities make it a strong platform for organic growth and expansion.
There you go.
It's the same symbol.
Yeah,
they make blackcurrant soda. You'd like that.
I would like that.
In Ireland, remember you drank it undiluted. Well,
this is not black. This is beet.
Oh, and they're featuring the Hortex juice. It's featured.
I can see how it would be. So that's Hortex bar this week.
David, the Wikipedia has 3 lines.
Yeah.
It says frozen fruit. There's 1,600 employees that work there.
Wow.
All
of the missing fingers.
The plants are located in Prashnashka, Radom, Rica, and Schwernaschka.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go. Yeah, but if the plants are there, that's where they're harvested. Where are the workers? Get plants, little play on words. But there's another company here. Another subsidiary. Juice manufacturer.
Oh boy.
No relation to Hortex.
Are you sure?
Well, this one must be some sort of Spanish or Puerto Rican place because it's called Rica.
Here, I'll look it up.
Rica. Rica, rich, tasty, I guess. And then I saw this, and I'm like, what could be drinkable in this carton? What could be nice and juicy? And then I realized, oh, of course, it's Chinola Maracuya.
Oh, wow.
What?
I thought it was a Costa Rican brand, but it doesn't say.
Well, it might be.
Rica brands in Facebook, so you know it's got to be true.
Well, anyway, it's a little bit of a letdown when all you have to do is turn the carton around, and it actually tells you, oh, it's just passion fruit juice. Aww. Which, by the way, this is delicious. This I could drink. This is like.
You don't like the Hortex?
The Hortex is savory.
You know, David, you used to be so accepting.
And Hortex has another juice.
It's very hard to get good Hortex in most estados unidos.
Is it really? Well, they have the apple mint, which was a little. Mint goes with a lot. Mint goes really well with tea.
There's something going on. There's some kind of movement going on here.
Oh. Good morning, Potato. They're all very excited. Papito was excited.
I don't think
this.
They're excited. Go in the subway. Go in the subway. Get out of town.
What are they afraid Russia's invading? What are they running?
They're taking over your show.
Oh no!
Over your show.
Oh my gosh! Yes, they started bombing. Actually, most Saturdays I bomb on the show. No, but look! Grandpa who wears his diaper.
Here comes the president. Wait! Here comes the entourage of the president.
I hope he's in hiding.
No.
The Grand Kanish. The Grand Kanish is terrified. He's like, we will fight them on the beaches. We will fight them in. Oh my God! He's here! Hide me! There you go.
So much for a fearless leader.
I love how everybody is saying that the president of the Ukraine, or at least president for 10 more minutes, he's going to be like a big, well, he is. He's brave and a hero and stuff, and he's like, we'll remember him, and meanwhile we'll forget Putin, and it's like, meanwhile Putin will take over all of Ukraine.
I have to read the history because there were protests pre this president. There was a lot of stuff going on in the Ukraine. We don't know the full history.
Yeah, it's... If you believe Putin, there's separatists and there's skirmishes along the borders of Ukraine that he's putting down, and nobody wants to be put down because that you feel insulted, you feel belittled. But
when they do it to animals, it means the end of life.
Yeah, but it's just sort of like the I guess there was I'm in the midst of a hostile potato takeover of the program. So if you can just, they're going to be out here for a little bit while I talk more about the juice. And it's like, Ochichoria, Coca California, and we won't mourn ya. All right, potatoes, you know what? Here we go. We're doing détente here. We're gonna have some peace talks while I drink my Chinola Maracuya. Bebida de jugo what is it? Grenadier Boisson Jus. So when I see this, and then I see this, that either looks like the inside of a fruit or the inside of someone's scalp. Um,
Ooh.
I'm like, yeah, yeah, and then you turn it over though, and it's just like, oh, well, it's just passion fruit with vitamina C. Mm. And this is tasty. It's like the bug juice you drink in camp, only tastier and more 100% nice stuff. But when Dave goes to try things, and by the way, speaking of things that are readily available, because both of these, the Hortex, and the Chinola Maracuya, are in this supermarket out in Queens. But this you can get at your local CVS.
Oh,
Did you
come on.
know that, or Dwayne Reed, you can get Dwellmans or Doodlemans, the authentic Dutch stroopwafel. That is the beautiful waffle-like pastry. They have caramel. They have maple. I cannot do Werner Herzog, and I shouldn't be doing Werner Herzog because this is Dutch and he's German anyway. But it is the stroopwafel, and as Joyce reminded me, what you do is you make a cup of tea or coffee, and then you plop this thing. If your mug is just the right circumference, you put this on top of the mug, and then you let the heat, the vapor of your beverage, heat up the delicious stroopwafel. It's good. It's chewy, but in a good way, and it's so stroopwafels. Found this, was very happy to get. You got to try new things. That's my deal. You got to go out there and try new stuff. As a matter of fact, I wanted to tell you last week. I didn't try it. I didn't buy it. I should have. But look in your frozen grocers area, the place where they freeze fish. Gordon's of Gloucester and all of that. And they had. Did I mention this last week, or did I just tell you?
What? Well, something with like weird fish stuff. You said
Weird fish stuff. Yeah, you wouldn't buy.
Oh, it said this is like the non-slimy or something. We're
Yeah.
non-slimy.
Because what do they do on packaging? They put stuff that they will want to or will make you want to buy their product. So it's like, oh, big in vitamin C. Got it. Okay. A picture of the actual fruit looking yummy, a perfect fruit. That'll make you want to buy it. What else? Colors that are attractive. The object in a cup of coffee makes you want the stroopwafel, right? Very attractive coloration of the packaging. Notice the cup of coffee farting up through the stroopwafel. So, okay, you understand marketing, you understand packaging, you understand that the manufacturer is going to put on the package something that will make a consumer want to purchase that item. So, in the frozen fish area of the local supermarket, I found it in Food Town, but it's in King Cullen as well. They have all these boxes of things, and you can buy fish that's pre-frozen, salmon, and you can buy calamari, and you can buy this and that. And they have a white box of calamari, squid, or octopus even, and in fairly big letters on the front of the box. Now, this is probably the only item, the only thing you could possibly buy where this would be a come on to the consumer to like buy this. But I don't know. There's just something a little odd about this. I wish I had the box to hold up, where it says, calamari, and then under it, as if to say, this is the one to get, tubes and tentacles. Tubes and remember, you're buying a food product. You're not a plumber trying to refit a house here. This is like, if you're looking for something delicious to eat tonight, something to saute in white wine and garlic, tubes and tentacles. Sounds like something that should be on Captain Beefheart's dinner plate. Tubes and tentacles. I can't even do a Beefheart voice this morning. What's the matter with me? Anyway, well, I will tell you what's the matter with me. Yeah, I will. Let me tell you what's going to be on the program. And then I'll get to my night last night. maybe I'll save that for later and do some quicker stuff, because coming quite soon into the Daverhood is our very, very special guest. She is a or was a dancer, is a choreographer, and has been for several years now. Has done Broadway work, including Sarah Jessica Parker is back on Broadway now in a comedy with her husband. They're reviving Plaza Suite by Neil Simon. Well, Sarah Jessica Parker has done other Broadway work over the years when she wasn't busy with Sex and the City and her movie career. And about, 20 something years ago, she did a very cute revival of Once Upon a Mattress on Broadway. Well, that revival was choreographed by our new, soon-to-be friend of the Daverhood. Her name is Liza Gennaro. She has choreographed all over the country. She has also had a strong academic career as a choreographer and writer, which brings us to the Daverhood, or her to the Daverhood today, because her book, Making Broadway Dance, is just coming out from Oxford University Press. And it's a book about just not necessarily just a history of dance on Broadway. You can get a lot of books about that. But what the dances meant to the shows that they were in. What did DeMille do in Oklahoma, and why were those dances? What did they mean? What did they represent where they were in the show? Everything, going back to the early stages of Broadway dance, all the way to the modern era. What were they doing in shows like Fela, that our friend Bill T. Jones choreographed, and all the way through. And also, kind of importantly, her dad, Peter Gennaro, was a Broadway choreographer too, and a TV choreographer. We can ask if they're related to Gennaro. Obviously Italian, but Liza Gennaro. Well, we're calling it Gen X for Gennaro. Okay, so she is the daughter. She is the scion. I guess that's for men and women, but she is the scion of the Gennaro family and of Peter Gennaro, very, very well respected choreographer. She is a very well respected choreographer, and now a writer. I'm actually probably going for full professor. That's why she did that's why she did the book. She's been a university person for, I guess, about 20, 30 years.
Where's she stationed?
I forget. I did not write that down, but we can certainly ask. Anyway, on March 2nd, she will be signing copies of her new book, Making Broadway Dance, at the Players Club in Manhattan. Plus, you can get the book anywhere books are sold. She'll tell you why. You should go and buy Making Broadway Dance. Plus, we'll be talking to Liza Gennaro about her dad, about her career, about working with some of the people that she, I just saw a week ago, The Music Man on Broadway. She choreographed The Music Man back in 1980 with, who was in it? Actually, we should bring him out.
Not Lin-Manuel. Oh, no. I'll fetch him.
Yes!
He's got a bag on his foot, though. Be careful.
So, and then she worked under Michael Kidd doing that. So, really, a lot to talk about with Liza Gennaro. She will be chatting with Rabbi Sol Solomon in just a few minutes here on Dave's Gone By. Who? I hear you say, who? Rabbi who? I repeat, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. Rabbi Sol is a theatrical performer of his own. He did his own. Yes! He did his one-man show called Shalom Damn It and Even With. Well, they can't even see it. They can't even. Oh, I've shown this before. People watching the show must think I live in.
Fix this, David. His head swappy. Tie his ascot.
Tie his what?
His ascot.
I don't know what is ascot, but it smells back from here. So this is our.
Make him pretty. He doesn't like to be pretty.
This is our Dick Van Dyke. He had a bit of a foot injury, but since it's all about choreography, if Dick Van Dyke hangs himself at some point, it'll be like, here you go. That's horrible.
They just posted pictures of him with his wife out shopping.
Who, Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah.
What? Oh, because he's 96.
Yeah, there was a picture of him, and he looks kind of
He's
a little
old.
bit unkempt, but he's, God bless him.
God bless Dick Van Dyke. And we'll be talking about him with someone who worked with him back in 1980 on a revival of The Music Man. Like, look at my desk! The takeover is complete. I don't know. So,
Why is he wearing your undershirt?
this wasn't this Potato. Remember, he was in swaddling clothes because he was having diarrhea issues.
I'll take it. He's fine. Get rid of that. He doesn't need to be.
I'm free.
He's liberated.
I'm free from the fascism. Yay! Yes, you are, Potato. Yeah, isn't he cute? I love him. Anyway, so there's that.
He's living his best potato life.
On Dave's Gone By this Saturday. By the way, it is February 26th, 2022, the last Saturday in February of this year. We're doing episode 839. By the way, did you catch it? Were you there? I remembered the day before, and I remembered early in the day. But earlier this week, did you remember to get all excited about February 22nd, 2022 at either 2:22 a.m. or 2:22 p.m. I reminded a couple of my friends, it's like 2:22, 22, 22:22. Huh? That can never, that's it for my lifetime. It can't be done with 23.
How do you know?
It won't. It won't. There's no, you can't have, unless maybe military time. No, there's no 03, 03. No, that's it. We had it with the 11s. I think we had it with the aughts. Like, no, we can't do an aught. 11/11/2011 at 11:11 a.m. That was the last one. Had to wait like a decade for this one. Huh? Was it worth it? Was it a wonderful week to be waiting for that? Yeah. Okay. Also on this episode of the show, as we usually do, our Today, Yesterday trivia quiz, where Liza Gennaro will join us to play our history fun, ridiculous trivia game that we play with our regular panelists, Leslie Hoban Blake, a theater critic and a director in her own right, and sometimes her own wrong, and David Sheward, who is a theater critic for theaterlife.com, culturaldaily.com, and his blog, The David Desk. So we always have a lot of fun doing that. That's a little later in the show. Our our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. This is where we, Joyce and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years, may even go back. But while we were there, I started thinking, hey, there's a lot of interesting places and interestingly named places in Colorado. Wouldn't it be fun if I wrote a little poem, a limerick, about as many of these places as I possibly could? Who knew that something like 180 poems later, I would still be writing them and still be sharing them and coming up with them once a week? Would you believe there's probably more than 500 towns and little hamlets and burgs and Macbeths in Colorado? There are. So believe it or not, every time I look, I'm like, it isn't even about finding new towns. It's about wondering if I can find like 3 rhymes for the name of that town that I can squeeze into a disgusting limerick. I've been managing it. Still, it's getting tougher. It's been getting tougher for a while. But we do have a new Colorado limerick this week, and we're going to Bountiful. There's a town in Colorado called Bountiful. It really isn't particularly bountiful. It's like a ghost town, but I've written a poem about it, and I will share it as a Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And then also, on this episode of the show, I mean, what a show already, huh? But also on the program, on today, on Dave's Gone By, let us not forget Greeley Crimes and Old Times, where we go to Greeley, Colorado, for 2 items that are in their weekly newspaper, real columns based on actual things, phone calls that come into the local police department, and items that were in the paper 100 years ago.
It's usually a repeat of the same thing. The repeat
What?
is like somebody finds someone on their porch, somebody's doing something in the street, kids are doing something somewhere, somebody's yelling or cursing or playing music at somebody.
Yeah, basically that. Although, you know what we haven't had, and I was reminded of this week? It's been years since every time when we first started doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times, like 6 or 7 years ago, it was always like somebody wanted to speak to a supervisor. It was terribly important when they were calling.
No, they wanted to speak to a supervisor, but like not this person,
Right.
not that person.
Listen, they would specify. I don't want to talk to this officer,
Yeah.
and I don't want to talk to those officers. But could you, I have an issue with my water pipe. Can you please? I need to talk to that supervisor. And it used to be every week in the paper, and we would have fun with it. Well, we're having fun here on Dave's Gone By. So let me tell you, I also want to tell about my night last night and the American medical system. I'm fine. Joyce is fine. Mom is fine. I'll explain later. But before we get to all of that, let's begin the important, well, it's all important, but the special part of the program where Rabbi Saul Solomon chats with a heavy hitter in the entertainment industry, and this is really exciting for us. We have with us, or will in about a moment or two, a choreographer, someone who's been doing this for 30, 40 years at this point. She's also a professor of dance and theater. She has a book out called Making Broadway Dance. So we're in a dancing mood here on Dave's Gone By. Now, granted, Broadway dance is a little bit different from klezmer, but I think if you use your imagination and maybe you put Hugh Jackman in there with Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse, and you watch them dance to this, you're going to have a very special day. Don't go away. Liza Gennaro joining us momentarily in the Daverhood. Oh, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Saul Solomon, dancing and being freilach with you on this Saturday morning, Shabbos. It is February 26, 2022, and we are excited and delighted to be dancing along with our guest in the Daverhood. Her name is Liza Gennaro. She has had an extraordinary career in theater, as I do it with the three syllables, theater and dance. For example, she choreographed the Broadway revival of Once Upon a Mattress, starring Sarah Jessica Parker. She did a Music Man years ago with Dick Van Dyke. We actually have him with us. Oh, he's not in the best of shape, but he's with us in the Daverhood. And most importantly at the moment, she is an authoress. She has a new book called Making Broadway Dance from the Oxford University Press, which, quote, and I will quote, examines choreography for musical theater via dance studies, script analysis, movement research, and, if I tell you I got movement this morning, and dramaturgical inquiry. Won't you welcome, please, also the daughter of the man who co-choreographed the original West Side Story. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, shalom, to Liza Gennaro. Hello!
Hello, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, so great to see you. Thank you for joining us. So tell us, the first question you always get asked. So you've been doing what you've been doing for so long. Why now to write a book? Are you going for full professor or something, or what's the deal?
No, I'm actually not going for full professor. I'm currently the dean at the Manhattan School of Music, running their musical theater program. And I had a long, career as a dancer first, then as a choreographer. And I went directly from high school. I went to the professional children's school, and from there I continued my professional career. So I didn't go to college until considerably later. So when I was in getting my undergrad and then graduate degree, particularly my graduate degree in dance studies, I was noticing that there was really no scholarly interrogation of musical theater dance. It was kind of the ugly stepsister of the dance studies world. It was considered disposable and kitsch and a monolith. And I thought, well, with my history and my passion for the form, I should write a book. So I did.
Well, and also, I mean, there's so many different angles to go with on this because, of course, you're the daughter of Peter Gennaro, and you've done it yourself, and you've been teaching it. So, I mean, do you talk about Laban choreography, or is that a little too arcane and all that? So, I mean, what is your angle? Is it historical, or are you more like, this is why this dance works in Oklahoma?
Uh-huh. A little of both. It is historical. I start in the 1920s, looking at dance training, looking at the development of jazz dance on Broadway, and looking at methodologies and showing that prior to Agnes DeMille, who's always touted as the first moment of narrative dance on Broadway, that in fact choreographers and dance directors were looking at narrative much earlier than DeMille. So
they were putting the grist before DeMille. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Yeah, and there's a lot of mythology around musical theater dance because it was never really looked at seriously. There's a lot of pronouncements about what it is and what the trajectory and history was. So it was really digging into those different statements, such as DeMille created the Dream Ballet, when in fact the Dream Ballet had occurred several times before DeMille. And really unpacking what was actually the truth of actually what was happening, and retrieving some of the artists who, due to being women or due to being Black, were erased from the historic record.
So if you were to be asked, like, who were one or two of the most important or innovative choreographers pre-DeMille,
yeah.
whom would you point to?
Yeah, well, if you start with the 20s, with, let's say, Shuffle Along, those early Black choreographers were essential to the development of musical theater dance. And names that you just simply don't know: Herbie Harper and Lawrence Diaz and many more, who were on productions and then removed from productions and replaced by white choreographers. And they were either paid off or sometimes they were simply assistants. George Balanchine, the famous and wonderful ballet choreographer George Balanchine, who had an extensive career on Broadway before he created, as he was forming New York City Ballet, he always used a Black choreographer, tapper, who would assist him on productions and who did, a huge majority of the choreography. So the appropriation aspect of what those choreographers did was really missing from the history. So that's one thing that I looked at. Then there were other choreographers, Seymour Felix, I talk about quite a bit, who really was looking at shows in terms of, from a dramaturgical perspective, how could dance further the narrative and just serve as a narrative tool on these musicals. That was long before DeMille. That was also in the 20s. And Balanchine as well also brought narrative content to the dances. So by the time you get to DeMille, there's a lot of precedence for what she did. But then what DeMille does is gives us female perspective. And she's always creating dances that are about women and about what women experience in life in many different aspects. She often also works autobiographically in her dances, and she approaches the dances from the outside in. So she often has a perspective or an agenda that she wants to state through the dances, and she does that by her brilliant ability to insert her ideas into the libretto, which then enhances the libretto while at the same time gets her point across. So the Dream Ballet in Oklahoma is a great example of that.
Well, this makes me ask, since you've choreographed all over the country and on Broadway, so do you have an agenda goes through all your work, not just one particular show? What's yours?
Well, I'm certainly a feminist, so I've always tried to bring a female perspective as well to my dances. But the other side of the paradigm of musical theater dance methodology is Jerome Robbins. And Jerome Robbins worked on the musicals really from the inside out. So he didn't have so much of an agenda. His agenda was how to make dances that fit organically into the libretto, into the script. And I was really trained more in that school than in DeMille's school. So I'm more of a integrated choreographer in that I'm making dances that look, my goal is to make dances that look like they're being created in the moment by the people at the time, place, and to enhance the characters.
Now,
So
it's surprising to me, that you would be a Jerome Robbins person. Gee, was your dad at all in any way? Did he know Jerome Robbins at all?
extremely well, he knew Jerome Robbins. My father worked on several shows with Robbins prior to West Side Story. He was in Steam Heat, which was, of course, was choreographed by Bob Fosse, but a show that Robbins was also on. That's Pajama Game. Also, Bells Are Ringing, and a few other shows. And then through his relationship with Robbins was looking for he was not wanting to choreograph West Side Story, and he went to Hal Prince and said, I'm going to direct the show, but it's too much for me to direct and choreograph. So Hal Prince said, well, I'm not producing it if you don't choreograph it. So Robin said, well, then I have to have a team of assistants. So he started to gather his assistants, and he went to my father and said, would you be interested in assisting me on West Side Story? And my father said, well, I don't really want to assist you, but I would co-choreograph it. And Robbins agreed. Then went on to make a very specific contract, which basically gave entire ownership of everything my father did to Jerome Robbins. So from then on, my father made his initial fee for the show, but he never had any kind of royalty payments. And crediting my brother, who's an attorney, has spent many, many years making sure that my father gets credit on all the revivals. So,
and is your father credited that, Spielberg directed a West Side Story movie last year? Is your dad's name on there?
He actually is. He's actually listed in the credit, which was very generous. That certainly didn't have to happen, I don't think. So it's very nice that did happen.
What did you think? I have not seen the movie. Well, I'm sure you have.
You know what? I haven't seen it yet. I'm going on Tuesday. I just got my tickets.
Okay.
My tickets last night. I've been so busy at school that I just haven't had an opportunity to see it yet.
So, did your father tell you stories of working on West Side Story, working with, or on any Robbins show, but certainly story. I mean, we know the one where they made the Jets and the Sharks hate each other as actors, and then so that one we kind of know. But what inside stories may your father have told about all these experiences?
Yeah. Well, my father had a good relationship with Robbins. They had a very good working professional relationship. I think Robbins truly valued my father and valued what he brought to the production, which was a very different kind of dancing than Robbins was familiar with. Robbins was a ballet and modern dancer primarily. My father was studied at the Catherine Dunham School and had an enormous amount of training in the dances of the African diaspora. So and my father was from New Orleans and was primarily, I would say, a jazz dancer. So he brought a very interesting perspective, and that really did make a difference in terms of identifying the two gangs, the Jets and the Sharks. So that's why my father was there. My father did have a very good relationship with Robbins, but I think part of the reason they had such a good relationship was because my father didn't really, in a very kind of not an obvious way, he really didn't tolerate being bullied. And Robbins was a bully. And, I'm not telling tales out of school. Everyone knows that Robbins was a bully. That's how he worked. And there was one meeting that my father told me about, that they were about to go out of town to Washington to work on the show, pre-Broadway. And he had Robbins called all of his assistants. He had this big team of assistants, including a co-choreographer, my father, brought them all together in the room and really was yelling at them all and giving them a hard time and saying, when you get to Washington, you got to be there for me. And when I say jump, you jump, and carried on. And at the end of the meeting, my father went up to him and said, Jerry, that meeting that you just gave, you didn't mean me, did you? And Robin said, oh, no, Peter, I didn't mean you. So my father would kind of confront him in this very kind of like, what's going on here way. And I think Robin respected that. And as with any bully, when you confront them, they normally do back down. So he had those kind of stories.
Can I ask, how much of your dad's work were you able to attend in person and see growing up?
Yeah, well, the Broadway shows, less so, because when he was doing, he was in and out of Broadway because he did so much television work, the variety shows. And that was a weekly occurrence, on Ed Sullivan, Perry Como, Kraft Music Hall, Judy Garland show. I mean, he was just on tons and tons of those on a weekly basis. So that work I had a very close relationship with and have seen so much of it. The musicals, less so. Certainly Annie, by the time Annie was in the late 70s, I saw, dozens and dozens of times. But shows like Fiorello, which were earlier, The Unsinkable Molly Brown, which were earlier, I don't have memories of having seen those live. The Unsinkable Molly Brown, my father did do the film. So I did see the film.
And when you watch The Unsinkable Molly Brown, do you see your dad's touch?
Yes, absolutely. I can even tell, I mean, obviously I do have a developed eye for dance, but I can tell even if there are clips, like every now and then YouTube, some crazy clip will come up of Mitzi Gaynor or somebody, and I can tell if my father choreographed it even without the credit, because I understand his movement vocabulary and his humor. And you can see that in the dances. And that's true. I'm pretty good at identifying pretty much certainly musical theater choreographer, and ballet pretty good too.
And have you choreographed, I'm sure you must have, it's a limited canon, have you choreographed shows that your dad, have you had to say to yourself, oh, no, this is my dad, I gotta be different for me?
Yeah, I did a production of Fiorello at Pittsburgh Civic Light Opera. And it was really interesting because you look at the dance arrangements, which are created with the choreographer and the dance arranger, and you're looking at the music and you're building the number, and they're like maps. They really tell you what to do. And I found with Fiorello, it was just very, very familiar to me, and I just sort of knew how to do it. And then the kinds of numbers that are in Fiorello were very kind of easy numbers for me, because I knew the vocabularies. That also can be true, though, of Robbins. I mean, Robbins shows, I've done Gypsy a few times, and they're not fun for a choreographer unless you got new dance arrangements, because he was so specific with his dance arrangements and how the numbers are built that you kind of trapped. You sort of have to just do what it was. So it is an interesting process.
There aren't a lot of big chorus numbers in Gypsy. It's just basically Tulsa dance and that's it, right?
Well, it's the kids' numbers, which are very hard to do. The vaudeville numbers are really
They always made me the back of the cow. Always I could be the back of the cow. We are talking, by the way, with the delightful Liza Gennaro about her life, her career, her new book. It's called Making Broadway Dance from Oxford University Press. Get it wherever books and presses are sold. Let me ask you, Liza, so you're directing on Broadway, right? And you're directing regionally everywhere. And yet you, at some point, must have made the decision, I want, I'm not going to say safe, but I want a career. You went into academia long time ago. Why that, as opposed to, I think I'll direct here for three months and here for a month and then go here and make a living that way?
Yeah. I started teaching very early. I was in the American Dance Machine, which was a company devoted to the recreation of Broadway showstoppers. I joined the company in the late 70s. There's now a new version of the company, but of course I was in the original company. And Lee Theodore, who was the original Anybody's on Broadway and West Side Story, ran the company. And she was a great teacher, and it was a great experience for me. We learned an enormous amount of wonderful Broadway rep. And she, very early on, when I was probably about 19, would have me sub for her class teaching when she was out. And from there, I just kind of kept teaching. It was always kind of a go-to for me when I wasn't doing a show. And I ended up getting a position at Hofstra University before I even had a degree. And I kind of liked the academic thing. And it was really also the beginning of my looking at musical theater dance in a very specific way and really educating myself on what that form was and educating myself on dance generally. Of course, I'd been raised seeing lots and lots of dance and Broadway, but I really delved into the history at New York Public Library for the Performing Arts, as a very young person. So from Hofstra, I then got a position. I was still choreographing and dancing, but I then got a position at Barnard. I worked a bit at Princeton. I just kind of was bopping around as an adjunct at Marymount, Manhattan. And I had a daughter, had a child, and reached a point in my life where the hopping around and then the running out of town for, 6 weeks to choreograph a show became just difficult for me. And so I decided to see if I could really get into an academic position. By then I had gotten my graduate degree, and I applied to Indiana University, had a position come up, and I ended up going out there for 6 years and living out there. Taught in the program and then ended up heading the program before the Manhattan School of Music job came up, and then I was ready to get back to New York City.
Here's a question. Now you're a dean,
Yes.
So is all your day essentially paperwork? Is it student complaints? Is it Title IX? I mean, do you have anything to do with actual dancing and teaching anymore?
It's a very, very good question. It is all of those things that you just mentioned, but I also do choreograph on the shows. We produce 7 shows a year. It's a lot of shows.
You're right.
Yeah, and I'm usually on 1 or 2 of those choreographing. So I do that, and I still have some outside gigs that I do. Of course, with the pandemic, they've not been happening, but I have a yearly production of a Charlie Brown Christmas that I did in San Francisco Symphony. So I have a few, things like that kind of keep that part of my brain alive and working.
How long does it take? Like when you have to go do up a new, because it's not going to be the same exact actors. It may not be probably the same sets, but you go back to do Charlie Brown Christmas in San Francisco. Does it take you a week? Does it take you a month? How long to whip all this into it is a new show, sort of.
Sort of. I mean, the way it's worked out in San Francisco is that we've had the same dancers, not all the same dancers, but many of the same dancers repeat. And then I have a fantastic assistant named Elena Zalman, who did the show with me when we originally did it for the New York Pops in New York. And so she is the one with, the assistants and the associates in Broadway and regional theaters. They are the unsung heroes because they're the ones that have the Bibles of the shows, and they really do the recreation. So she puts that show together in about a week.
Yeah. Wow, it's just mind-boggling. I can't even memorize a sentence in a week when I'm doing my theater shows. My God, and it's good. Here's an idiot question, because not everybody who watches this program, Dave's Gone By, knows dance, is a theater person. So I've always, what is the difference between a choreographer and a dance captain?
Okay. So the choreographer is the person who is hired, part of the creative team, and who works closely with the composer, lyricist, book writer, director to create the show, to create the dances that end up in the show, and to work with the cast. I'll give you the hierarchy. The next step down is the associate choreographer. And the associate is a person who can stand in for the choreographer if the choreographer is not there. So if the choreographer has to go out of town, the associate can step in. If the show has a tour, ends up having a Broadway run and then has a tour, the associate often puts the tour together. So they're very, very important. The assistant is sort of the next step. The assistant, sometimes there's not an associate, sometimes there's only an assistant, but the assistant works very closely with the choreographer, works with the cast in terms of teaching things when needed, cleaning numbers when needed, and then the next person is the dance captain. And the dance captain is the person who stays with the show. So if I go to the Guthrie and do a show out at the Guthrie, when I leave, the dance captain now preserves my work.
So on Broadway, shows like Aladdin and Hamilton and Wicked, it's the dance captains who are...
They have, on Broadway,
Right.
the associate usually is
stays.
the dance captain is still there and taking notes regularly on the show, but the associate will also be going in to do replacement auditions or whatever needs to be done. So they're kind of dividing and conquering. But on a regional show, there's usually not an associate. You usually have an assistant who is often the dance captain. And then the assistant assists you while you're there, and then you leave, and then then they shift hats to the dance captain and they take over the running of the show.
Now, can I ask you, Liza Gennaro, in all your years, whatever it would be, what is your favorite assignment? What was like the best experience you've ever had choreographing a show?
Well, I've had a few. I've had a lot of bad experiences, but I've had a few good ones.
Don't go there. Oh, I want to hear those too, but tell me the best.
I'll go to the good ones first.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie Brown Christmas, certainly for one, was very much a favorite of mine. I like what I did, and I'm happy that it's been successful. The Most Happy Fella, which was directed by Gerald Gutierrez, started at Goodspeed Opera House and then came into New York.
Was that the piano one?
The two pianos.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful experience. Everybody on that show was working at the height of their powers, and Jerry was in great form on that show, and that was a lovely experience. And then I did a show with Stephen Flaherty and Frank Galati called Loving Repeating, a musical of Gertrude Stein. We did it in Chicago. It was Stephen Flaherty setting Gertrude Stein writings to music, and it was about her relationship with Alice B. Toklas, and it was a beautiful, beautiful show, and I had a wonderful experience working with them. That was a great time.
Okay, all right, you brought it up, so you don't have to name names, although please do if they're dead, but what are like the experience, like, oh my God, I'm getting out of this business, I'm gonna go sell Carvel. What? Tell me.
Well, when shows can misfire for lots of different reasons. A director can be mismatched to a production. A choreographer can be mismatched to a production. Casting can be off. Things can just go wrong very early on, and once they do, they're really hard to recover. And I've been on a few of those, unfortunately. And I guess the one that I could talk about mostly was Smile, which I was the assistant choreographer, dance captain, and emergency swing on Smile.
Now, let me preface this. Let me tell people that Smile was based on a very funny satirical movie. It was Michael Ritchie, I think, did directed the movie, and all about beauty pageants and then the behind-the-scenes wrangling that was going on. So who gets involved in this? Composer Marvin Hamlish. I'm forgetting some of the other people, but this was going to be a big Broadway musical, almost instant pre-sold hit, considering who was involved. And it was beauty pageant, perfect milieu for a musical. Yeah. What went wrong?
So it was Howard Ashman and Marvin Hamlish, and we did a workshop first, and Howard also directed, and that's a lot of hats to wear. He also hadn't worked very much. I loved Howard, but he hadn't worked very much on big shows like that. So I think it was also a new experience for him, and a new experience to have wearing all those hats. We did the workshop first. We did it at West Beth. West Beth. And it was a big, big success, that workshop. It was very dark, like the film was. Of course, it was a blank stage. It was, Mary Kite choreographed it. She did these fabulous, creations of space through bodies and using chairs.
So she choreographed and you were
Assistant.
Oh, so okay, got
I
it.
was
Okay.
assistant, the dance captain, and the emergency swing. If it was today, now with the advent of associates, I probably just would have been the associate. But back then, they kind of bundled all those roles. So we did the workshop. It was great. It was dark. It had not a happy ending. It had all the cynicism of the movie. And it went very well, and we got picked up right away, and off we went to Broadway, and we had previews and tryouts in Wilmington, Delaware, I think. Baltimore we were. And we got into the theater, and suddenly we were in Barbie's dream house, and it was all pinks and blues, and the set was immense, and it had all of these towers that moved, and it was a spectacular set. But what the workshop had been, and then what the set and the way they kind of heightened it to be a Broadway show, in my personal opinion, I just felt it was a mismatch. And once that happened, there was no turning back, because the set was enormous. There was an incredible set of costumes by William Ivy Long that worked beautifully with the set, but the story, I think, got lost. And while the cast was fantastic and there was so much good to that show, it just never quite recovered from, I think, what was maybe just I think they just simply made a mistake in how they conceived it for the Broadway stage. And at that time, what was it, like 85? I don't think audiences then were not particularly interested in cynicism. So I think that they were trying to get away. I think the producers must have pressured them to get away from the cynicism of it and make it a happy ending. And
Although this was, at least when you say that this was a bad experience, if you will, it was about mismatching. It wasn't conflict. It wasn't untalented people. It wasn't wrong decisions. It wasn't a terrible, oh my God. It was just, you saw the set and you knew, and you can't throw out a $4 million set because the producers have paid for it, right?
No.
So there
it was an excellent set. It was an excellent set, an excellent designer. It just didn't work for the show, ultimately. It was my feeling, my personal feeling. No. So, and then when that happens on a show, everybody starts turning on each other, and everybody's looking for the scapegoat, and, it just gets ugly. And it's very, very unfortunate, because all everybody wants is for the show to be a hit.
Let me ask you, since you mentioned that you were a swing, so at that point you were still dancing and doing stuff, where do you come down? I mean, I think she took a little, almost too much flack, but the head of the League of American, well, no, they call it the Broadway League now, Charlotte St. Martin, got into all this hot water by just trying to tell people, when Mr. and Mrs. Omelski come from Idaho to see a Broadway show, they're hoping to see the star, the co-star, and like the actual quote-unquote cast, not a bunch of people who've been also rehearsed, but they were second choice, whatever, and not a bunch of folks who haven't been day after day, week after week doing the stuff. They're thrown in, they're kind of like in the same clothes as the leads, so they're cast almost to fit the same body type as the leads, and so and suddenly all the swings and all the dancers and all the chorus people jumped on her for denigrating swings. And where do you stand on that whole controversy, if you will?
Well, the swings and understudies and covers are essential to Broadway, and they are spectacular performers. It is such a hard job, and they always cover multiple tracks. So they're covering many people in the ensemble, many, more than one principal often. Often on Broadway, they do have their own set of costumes. So even in regional theaters, they do. So the body type thing is not quite as essential as it used to be. And they, I have this at school. We have a swing program at school. So on all of our shows, we do cast swings, understudies, and covers so that they have that experience, because it's a great, it just makes you that much more castable if you know how to do that and keep you working. And I work very hard on making sure the students understand it's not a secondary position. It's a hard position. You have to sit on the side. You have to be invisible until you suddenly have to step in and take over a role. It's a really hard job, and it really requires. There are people who absolutely love doing it. There are people who do it, try it out, and decide, you know what, it's not for me. I don't like sitting in the dressing room when the show's happening and thinking, oh, maybe I have to go on at any second. Some people can't handle it, and some people love the variety. You go on for a different person all the time. I think it's very wrong to think that the show is lessened by a cover or an understudy. I think that they are proficient, fantastic performers who are rehearsed continually and are filling in at a moment's notice and do a really difficult job with enormous amount of skill. So, I do have a problem with saying that you're seeing something lesser. You're not.
Now, speaking of, let's get back to a star thing, because you did choreograph a revival of The Music Man. It's on Broadway. Not the one that's.
I didn't choreograph it. I was in it.
You were in it. You were in it with Dick Van Dyke. Do you have any stories about Dick Van Dyke, or just in that experience of The Music Man?
Well, let me first say Michael Kidd choreographed it. Michael Kidd, who had choreographed, people might know Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, the movie, but he also had he did choreograph Guys and Dolls and many other Broadway shows. Dick Van Dyke was a lovely man. He kept to himself. Yeah, we didn't see like a lot of him socially. He would attend parties. He was always very polite and very nice. I wouldn't say I had much of a relationship with him other than, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. And stay on stage. Meg Bussert was our Marion. She was fantastic. She's a friend. And it was a lovely production. They were both excellent in it.
What did you learn from being choreographed by Michael Kidd?
Michael Kidd was tough, but not abusive. Well, I mean, all choreographers from that golden age of musical were a little bit abusive. I'll say that. They're tough. They kind of beat you up to get you to do what they want you to do, but he was also humane. We loved him. The dancers absolutely loved him. The dancing was really hard. He required an enormous amount of stamina. He did a lot of lifts, very acrobatic lifts that were very hard to learn, and then had to be performed 8 times a week. It was a hard physical experience, tough on the body. I was very young, so I didn't really feel it until a few years later when my knees really started to be shot, and I realized probably had a lot to do with that work I was doing on that show. But that's part and parcel of the job. But he also, his movement vocabulary, he worked similarly to DeMille in that he had a very specific style. You could see, it's Michael Kidd when you see it. It's Agnes DeMille. It's Bob Fosse. That's not true of Robbins. Robbins was a chameleon. You can't quite tell his choreography as well. So that was interesting to me to see what the style was, and then how he adapted the style to different moments in the show was very interesting. And then just the structure of his numbers were, beautiful, the way they built.
Do you have not to denigrate someone by comparison, but do you have a favorite choreographer of today? Is it Strowman? Is it Bill T. Joe? Who?
Well, I think Bill T. Jones is terrific. I think what he did with Spring Awakening was really groundbreaking. I loved that. And I love what Stephen Hoggett does. You know, it's very, very different kind of choreography than Broadway is used to. It's based in improvisation and physical, movement, physical practice. So both of them I love, but I also love Andy Blankenbuehler and Chris Gattelli and Lauren Lataro. I think is terrific. There's so many great choreographers out there right now.
Oh boy! See, if you were to corner, as we kind of have in our conversation, an audience member from, let's go back to Podunk, Iowa, and then say, okay, you're going to a Broadway show, maybe for the first time. What would you tell them to look for and to get out of the dance in that show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I always would like audiences to think, why are the people dancing? What's this dance doing in this moment? So while the point of these numbers is often just to sit back and have fun and enjoy the exuberance that's happening on the stage, I would ask audiences to pay a little closer attention to what is exactly happening. Why is it there? What's the story it's telling? And to take careful note of the movement in terms of, even broadly, is it ballet? Is it modern dance? Is it, Sergio Trujillo, who is, fantastic with, any kind of dance, what's he doing with the different, he's going from Jersey Boys to a show that has enormous amount of Latin dancing in it, all different kinds of shows. Hands on a Hard Body, which the entire show was done with one hand on a car. I mean, these choreographers are so skilled in versatility of what they can do with dance. Camille Brown, who's fantastic and who's really hot right now. I'm always interested to see what she's going to do with her choreography, because she does have so much she has a wide span of ability, and how she approaches a period piece. She did A Cabin in the Sky, which there are some numbers in there that are kind of based in like 1940s Lindy, and how she adapted her movement style to that movement style and brought a real choreographer's take on it, so that you're not just seeing a plain old Lindy, you're being surprised all the time and leaning in all the time on what she's doing with movement that's engaging you. So, that's I guess I just would love if people would look at it a little more carefully and not just as, oh, it's another dance like every other dance I've seen before.
Now, speaking of Lindy, I hope you all will go out, I'm sorry about that, will go out and buy the book by our guest Liza Gennaro, Making Broadway Dance, from Oxford University Press. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it wherever, and it's a Kindle, I'm sure, as well. But Liza, the sad part is that I have to go. I've had this wonderful time talking with you. You do not have to go. You're sticking around because you're going to be hanging with a couple of theater critics. But they're wonderful people. There's David Sheward and Leslie Hoban Blake, who will be playing the Today, Yesterday trivia quiz. It's stupid, it's pointless, it's ridiculous. You'll love it. So stick around. Now, and you can even dance. I'm going to play a little klezmer music as we wait for Dave to come back to the show. But thank you so much, Liza Gennaro. Don't go away. Nobody go away. Nobody go away. We got people coming in. Everybody, horror! Oh, I am a dancing fool here today, everybody, on this very wonderful episode of Dave's Gone By, featuring our new friend of the Daverhood, choreographer Liza Gennaro, and our very longtime friend now of the Daverhood, theater critic, former head of the drama desk, David Sheward, former managing editor of Backstage, and also he's the current theater critic for theaterlife.com, culturaldaily.com, and he has a blog called The David Desk. So, Liza, this is your chance. Is there anything you've always wanted to tell a theater critic? Now's your shot.
Hey, wow, that's intense. No,
Stop invading Ukraine.
I don't think there is anything I want to say.
Well, what is the best? I'll ask you, Liza.
David, academics are used to criticism.
My wife is saying academics are used to criticism, but what is the best advice, or when you read a piece of criticism, either about your work or another choreographer's work, that you took to heart? That was like, oh, that was perceptive. I didn't notice that.
Well, reading about myself, I have always said the good reviews are as damaging as the bad reviews. So it's best to just not read them.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Sorry, David.
My own reviews, I try not to read them because they just don't help me one way or another. When I read other reviews, of course, given my, interests, I do love when they focus on the dance and when they explore the dance as, what is it actually doing within the context of the show. And that's, I'm sure critics, they only have so much space and time, and there's a lot to cover, but I'd love to see more talking about the dances and musicals.
Right. Well, David Sheward, welcome back to the Daverhood. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Won or handily won the quiz last week. How has your week been? Downhill or uphill since then?
That was the highlight. Well, I had this week off because it's President's Day week, so I did not have to go to my teaching job this week. And I was able to write my review of The Music Man, and which interesting, and I explored the dance aspects of it in that review. I thought Warren Carlyle did a very good job. I thought the dancing in it was quite wonderful.
I was going to ask Liza, have you seen The Music Man?
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And yes, and I posted that the changing of the lyrics of Shapoopy is #2 on CNN in their news coverage after the invasion of Ukraine.
Oh my God.
Go figure that Shapoopy would be a #2. But anyway, that's the
and in some markets, it's #1,
Well, there you go. Let's since Leslie isn't here yet, surprise. Leslie Hoban Blake will be joining us also for the quiz. She is a theater director, has been for many years, and she's also a theater critic from Critics Circle.
My Android just said, "What would you like to try? A song quiz or today's daily quiz?"
I think we'll go with today's daily quiz because this will work. So,
you have a communication power with my phone.
Liza has not played the game yet, so let me explain. The rules are basically pretty simple because I'm basically a simpleton. So here's the deal. It's a trivia quiz. There's 3 rounds of questions. Each of our 3, hopefully, contestants gets 1 question. The question is worth 2 points if you get it right. If you get it wrong, no penalty, but one of the other contestants gets to steal. Yeah. If you're really wrong, you get a one-way ticket to Kyiv. But I'm joking there. So and that's really kind of it. We have a tiebreaker, which we play anyway, whether or not the score's actually tied, just for having the fun of the questions. You will need at some point just to grab a writing implement and a piece of scrap paper for our tiebreaker. That's all. And I will ask you, Liza, new friend of the Daverhood, if you had to pick a number between 1 and 6 and tell me what it is, what would it be?
4.
Liza with a 4. David Sheward, what number would you choose?
3.
David Sheward with a 3. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to make believe that Leslie is coming but late and get things started. So what Liza doesn't know is I have a virtual die rolling web thing. Ooh. So I'm going to roll the die. And it comes up a 1. I was going to just hold on. This just takes forever. Oh, a 3. David Sheward. The die came up 3. So you get to choose. Would you like to be first, second, or third?
I'll be second.
David Sheward second. Okay. And Liza, do you want to be first or third?
Well, the whole thing makes me extremely nervous because I'm bad at quizzes and tests. So it doesn't matter. I could be first or third. It's not going to make me feel better either way.
Well, why don't you'll see how it works? I'll put you third.
Great.
Well, if Leslie's not here,
Right. So, but at least David will get to answer the first question. And
then
you'll
I'll
see
be
what it
first.
looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and as my wife reminded me, Liza, honestly, there are people who come and play the quiz. They get no points. It's it's not about real knowledge. It's not about
It's fun.
anything, at all. Really, it's just my idiocy. Yeah, you can make fake answers. Anytime you don't know the answer, you can just say "making Broadway dance" as your answer. That would work. So,
I wonder if I have any of Liza's shows on my pajamas.
oh, I wonder.
Wow.
That's great.
Well, maybe not on Broadway, but certainly she's choreographed everywhere, so you probably do. What are some of the musicals on there?
Or maybe
Uh,
in his posters. He's got
Beauty and the Beast, The Producers, Les Mis, Jersey Boys, Aida, Tarzan, The Color Purple, Annie.
No, Annie must have. Yeah.
My father did Annie, but
Ah.
I did the tour, so
Ah.
that's a good one.
So there you go. Yeah. But
And I know you did Most Happy Fellow, right?
Yes, the one with Jerry Gutierrez. Yeah.
so yeah, thank you. My darling wife brought me a beverage, so I'm all set. We're all set. The only other thing you really need to know, Liza, even though the first question goes to David, is that the idea of the quiz is called Today, Yesterday. So all of these questions, except a couple that are related to current events, are things that happened on this date, February 26th, in history. And so that's how it sort of all ties together. David, are you ready for your very first question? Of
Yes.
today's Today, Yesterday quiz?
Yes. There we go.
Oh wait, also I think I hope I have a text from Leslie.
what happened?
No, you're not.
What happened?
Leslie is saying that she's in the waiting room. She's saying, is Putin blocking her? I don't know.
No, that's me.
Oh, that was you. Oh,
That was me just a
Sorry,
few
sorry.
minutes ago.
Well, you're here. So welcome, Dave. You ready for your first question?
Yes.
The year was 1266.
Oh,
Battle is on. Well, you remember 1266. The Battle of Benevento. Oh, sorry, no, forgive me. The Battle of Benevento in southern Italy, pitting Manfred of Sicily against Charles I of Anjou. Charles would win and establish the Capetian House of Anjou that would influence southern Europe throughout the Middle Ages.
of course.
Speaking of Anjou, according to harryanddavid.com, which of these is false about pears? See,
Okay.
this is where we go, Les. This is how this works.
Oh, Harry and David.
Oh, you don't watch HLN, do you? They package and box like candy.
Oh, okay.
Like food distribution gifts.
Yeah, a gifty kind of foodie
Oh,
sort of
okay.
thing.
Okay.
So according to them.com, which of these is false about pears?
False about pears. Okay.
A, all commercially grown pears are actually picked by hand. B, both Albrecht Dürer and Giovanni Bellini have paintings of Mary and Jesus and a pear. C, the English idiom for failure, going pear-shaped, derives from rural farmers who had to discard apples that weren't perfect looking enough to sell at market. Or D, in Korea, farmers put plastic molds around growing pears so they'll grow shaped like a Buddha. Okay?
Huh.
One of these, only one of these is false.
Oh, okay. Which one is false? Well, they all sound. Now, I've never heard the expression going pear-shaped. I mean, maybe it's from before my time. I don't know. I've never heard that expression. So I'm going to say C.
Is that your final answer?
What the hell? C.
Yeah, this is the budget for this show pays for this. David Sheward, for the wrong reasons, you got the right answer.
Oh.
It was letter C, by the way. David Sheward on the board, of course, with 2 points. Pear-shaped is like an English expression where things go south and they go wrong.
I didn't know that either.
Never heard it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I never
really?
heard
Wow.
that.
But it did not come from the farmers and their apples and all of that. It probably came from World War II RAF fighters in training who were trying to fly loop-de-loops but couldn't finish perfect circles. And so they get sort of this and they get all pear-shaped.
Oh.
And that's why the British say it.
Right, yeah. And that expression has been around for a while. By
Never
the
heard
way,
it.
Bellini's painting Madonna of the Pear is actually a quince, and Dürer has a painting of baby Jesus holding the top of a pear in his hand. So that
Oh.
is actually true. David Sheward on the board with 2. Count them. One. I just counted them.
Yeah.
2 points. Nothing from Leslie. Oh dear.
I guess maybe I did. Maybe I missed Noel Coward's great comedy Pear Shaped, which was a huge hit.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that show.
Hello, Cecily. Everything's going all pear shaped now that my marriage has gone up in smoke. You all right, Nigel? Pour me a cocktail.
Yeah, Michael Kidd choreographed. It was kind of
Oh,
anyway.
okay. Musical Pear Shaped.
It could work.
Pear-shaped is.
Now, Liza Gennaro, are you ready for your very first question?
Sure.
Please don't be nervous. But look at what show you're on. Do not be
It's
nervous.
silly fun.
The year was 1770.
She should
What?
be happy she's wearing clothes, not PJs.
Yeah, look, considering that he's wearing pajamas, you're wearing clothes. You're already one up on the game here. God knows what Leslie will be wearing if she ever shows up. The year was 1773. Okay, not a musical. 3 years before the music. The state of Pennsylvania included construction of the Walnut Street Jail, which would become the first prison to experiment with solitary confinement. 30 years later, and 3 blocks away, the Walnut Street Theater would spring up, the oldest continually operating theater in the United States.
Oh, David got this question?
No, this went to
Okay,
Liza.
Good.
Which of these is false about the Walnut Street Theater?
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's false about walnuts.
No, oh, that you're just cracked. A, the theater's original name was the New Circus. B, a streetcar named Desire had its pre-Broadway tryout there. C, it was the first American theater to install air conditioning. Or D, a 2019 production of Shrek the Musical was the first time the theater hired a black director. Shrek, there was a musical, yeah. Which of these is not true?
Could you say them one more time?
Absolutely. About the Walnut Street Theater. A, the theater's original name was the New Circus. B, a streetcar named Desire had its pre-Broadway tryout there. C, it was the first American theater to install air conditioning. Or D, a 2019 production of Shrek the Musical was the first time the theater hired a black director.
I'm just going to say B.
Just going to say B, that streetcar named Desire is not true. That streetcar had its tryout somewhere else. Final answer?
Yes.
Oh, I was so filled with desire for you to get this right, but I'm afraid that is not the correct. It really did have its tryout in Philly at the Walnut Street. So, David Sheward, you have a steal opportunity.
Okay.
So.
Right. So.
All right.
You're from PA, right? Originally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I actually did a show at the Walnut Street Theater once.
What show?
Well, they had a little studio space up on the 5th floor, and we did a non-equity production of Kennedy's Children, and I played one of the characters in the bar.
I never knew you were acting. And Liza, have you ever choreographed at?
I never did work at Walnut Street.
And I saw many shows there. I saw John Glover do Hamlet there, and Roberta Maxwell did Hedda Gabler. And
see, I would have switched. I would like to see Roberta Maxwell do Hamlet and John Glover do Hedda Gabler.
And Robert Prosky and his sons did The Price there.
Oh wow.
I'm going to say D because I think that that wouldn't have been the first black director. I think they're 2019 is too recent. I think there would have been many black directors before that.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, yes.
Well, David Sheward, you're taking some interesting directions today. Here's the deal. Once again, you got the question right for the wrong reasons.
Oh.
So you get 2 more points on the board. You're up 4-0. Don't worry, Liza. None of this matters. But this is the messed up part. Shrek was directed by Glenn Casal. Do you know him? To date, Walnut Street Theater still has not employed a black director.
Yeah.
Oh.
Walnut Street is in a lot of, their guy who's been running it for 40 years is.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's been under a lot of whatever for the culture there. So
Really, that's weird.
I know that's yeah.
Because I saw ceremonies in Dark Old Men in like the 1970s, and I think it was at the Walnut Street Theater, and I'm pretty sure that had a black director.
Oh,
Maybe it was a tour,
or maybe musicals. I'll have to look that up.
yeah, maybe it was a
Either way, I'll give it-
tour.
Yeah.
And if you're not counting tours, if you're only counting shows that are at the Walnut Street Theater originally and they'll go anywhere, then maybe. But I distinctly remember seeing Douglas Turner. No, it was Monty Elder wrote that play, and Douglas Turner Ward played the lead.
Huh. You know what? I don't know. Maybe touring shows it doesn't count.
Okay.
I'll have to put an asterisk next to that question.
Okay.
And by the way, just so you know, do you know when they put in air conditioning in the Walnut Street?
In the 70s?
1855.
Oh.
Philadelphia is very old.
Yeah, no, but 1855 they had air conditioned theater. That's
Oh,
amazing.
1850.
1855. They figured out a way to cool. Maybe I'm on a very messed up website.
Not
with
electric.
this information.
Well,
I
maybe
know.
tubs of ice, and they would have people go like this.
Yeah, they just blow on the ice. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Where's Leslie?
Leslie, I have not heard from her. I don't know what's going on with her. So what we're going to do is recalibrate the thing and just do it 1 2 1 2 1 2. So we'll do
Okay.
rounds like that. And I guess we'll skip. We won't turn the tiebreaker into a tiebreaker. It'll just be another question. So David Sheward, you're up 4-0. You can go up 6-0 if you get this next
Okay.
question correct. The year was 1859. On this date, before Bobby Fischer, before Garry Kasparov, there was Paul Morphy, American chess whiz. On this date, he began a match with British chess master Augustus Mongredian. Oh no! Hold on one moment, folks.
Leslie?
Is that
Let me
Leslie?
remind people, let me remind people that you're watching Dave's Gone By
Leslie.
with me, Dave Lefkowitz. We're live on this February 26, 2022. We're
Oh,
playing.
she'll be in time for.
I'm sorry.
She'll be in time for the third question.
Exactly. What timing? Hello, Leslie. Leslie, we can't hear you. Please
Unmute.
mute.
You can request for her to unmute, David. Request.
Oh, she's looking for it. She knows.
Good.
There we go. Hold on. Oh, she's finding it.
Hi, good morning. I'm so sorry. You don't even want to know. We'll just leave it at you don't want to know. Good morning, David.
Leslie.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Liza Gennaro, the choreographer.
Hi.
David
Hi,
Sheward.
nice to meet you.
With her new book, by the way, Making Broadway Dance, which is available from Oxford University Press.
Oh,
It's
great.
all about. You explain. You know what, Liza? Explain it while Leslie sets herself up. Tell everybody why they should get Making Broadway Dance.
And can we get preview questions?
Making Broadway Dance. I have it right here, so
I
I
happen to have a copy.
can you see it?
Oh, wow. I love the cover.
It's Gwen Verdon and Peter Gennaro, my father.
Oh, wow.
Are you Peter's daughter?
I am.
That's so lovely.
Yes,
That
and
is
she-
delightful
She
the
did
legacy of it.
Most Happy Fellow, the revival on Broadway.
And Once Upon a Mattress with Sarah Jessica Parker
Oh.
a few years back. So,
Right.
So, welcome, Leslie Hoban Blake. Leslie, very quickly, can you pick a number between 1 and 6?
6.
Okay, Leslie with a 6. Oh my God, we have 2 L's. This is going to be.
Have you guys just been vamping until I got here?
No, we've gone
we've
ahead.
gotten 2 questions. Literally,
You're third.
Oh,
you're third.
We're not gonna
so,
wait.
Leslie.
and what's the score so far?
Yes. Take a wild guess. 4-0, David. Yeah, big shock. No offense, Liza, but it's David.
Why don't you just call it a David Sheward Memorial Trivia Game, and then we can just all watch him answer questions.
What my wife is saying?
The
What?
past 2 were guesses.
I know, David. It doesn't matter.
We have so far.
If they're on your side of the scoreboard, there,
You
you
can-
know.
We have a C and a D. If you're
Oh,
following. that.
thank you. Did you explain to Liza why we do that?
Sometimes we do that to try and see if there's a pattern, and there usually isn't.
Okay.
They usually
I have a question for my wife about academia.
No.
For
So I'm
what?
just saying academic.
Academic to academic.
Tell people what.
How long did it take you to write the book, Liza?
What classes would use your book? Well, intro to choreography, intro to theater, even, or what courses are people using, or will they be using your book for, Liza? Yeah.
Well, certainly dance history, obviously. But I think any kind of musical theater history course as well, any kind of choreography class. I think really honestly, general information for musicals as well. I mean, I do cover a lot of shows, although I I mean, my point is to look at them through the lens of dance specifically, but you get a lot of information about directing as well. I think it's a really good book for directors. Budding.
I'll get the information from David because a friend of mine is the head of the dance department at some place in Arizona.
Oh,
So
great.
I'll send her the info. I'm sure it sounds like something they would
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
they would be interested in.
Oh, Leslie,
I mean, aside from other people as well, if you're talking about that kind of thing. How long did it take you to write?
Well, I started it when I went to college and grad school very late because I had a performance and choreography career first. I started working as a child, so I just went straight through. So I started it in my grad studies and I would say it took me about 10 years because
Oh.
I never like just sat and wrote the book. I was doing dozens of things along the way. So I kept kind of squeezing it in. But I would say the last 5 years was really the big push.
Oh, that sounds about average for that kind of book. I mean, there's a lot of research and whatnot.
Well, she's also the dean at the Manhattan School of Music, so that
Did not know that. Congratulations.
Dean of musical theater.
musical theater at Manhattan School. So let us get back to the quiz, where this next question goes to Leslie Hoban Blake. All right, are you ready, Leslie? So
Yes, are we in the second round already? This is the
the end of the first round. Luckily, you literally jumped in 1 more minute. You would, I don't know what.
we're still in the first round. Oh my goodness, my
Yeah,
sense of timing, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I had to rebuild my desktop. Come on, it's like, okay, let's go. I've taken enough of your time.
1859, Leslie. 1859.
I was there. Go ahead.
Before Bobby Fischer, before Garry Kasparov, there was Paul Morphy, American chess whiz. On this date, he began a match with British chess master Augustus Mondrian. Morphy drew the first game and went on to win the next 7 and the match. Which of these is false about Paul Morphy? Okay. A, before one match, he was treated for gastroenteritis with leeches. He could barely stand up, but he still won. B, when Morphy's father realized his 10-year-old son's talent, he brought his family to Europe for a month so the boy could have lessons with 3 chess masters. C, an acknowledged world champion, Morphy retired from competitive chess when he was 22 years old. Or D, he could play chess blindfolded against 8 opponents simultaneously and beat them all. All of these are true except one.
So I'm torn between the leeches and the retirement. The other two sound.
Yeah.
Amen, sister. Amen.
And a hard place, right? The leeches sounds. I mean, the retirement and the I can't read my handwriting. The retirement and the blindfold sound true. No, I'm sorry. The retirement and the gastroenterology sound true, and we want what's false, right?
Right.
I remember reading about somebody who could play blindfolded about it, but it's probably, as David would say, it's probably about how many people he played blindfolded rather than the fact that he played blindfolded. So I'm going to say that he couldn't play 10 games blindfolded, but he could play blindfolded.
So your answer is D.
D.
It is not correct. He could play chess blindfolded at 8 opponents simultaneously and win all those games. Final answer?
Except we haven't had an A, so.
Well, I'm afraid that was not the correct move, Leslie Hoban Blake. He could play and a lot of chess players do that kind of thing with the blindfolding, and it's in their heads. So here's the deal: we get to roll our virtual die, bum 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 bum, which comes up a 6, but that's because the number. So what is that dinging thing? We have a 1. Hold on. We have a 4. 4 is Liza Gennaro. So Liza, you have a chance to steal this question. Do you need me to read the?
Yeah, read them one more time if you don't mind.
The remaining options are A, before one match, he was treated for gastroenteritis with leeches. He could barely stand up, but he still won. B, when Morphy's father realized his 10-year-old son's talent, he brought his family to Europe for a month so the boy could have lessons with 3 chess masters. Or C, an acknowledged world champion, Morphy retired from competitive chess when he was 22 years old. One of these is false.
I'm going to say A.
You're going to say A, before one match, the leeches, the gastroenteritis, all of that. Final answer?
Mhm.
Well, just like leeches, that sucks because that is not the correct answer. David Sheward, uh-oh, you have a chance to get 2 more points.
Okay, so what year was this in again? This guy, Marpole?
On this date in 1859, he began a match
Okay.
against another master.
Yes.
Okay,
Read the whole question, just in
of
case.
course. Before Bobby Fischer, before Garry Kasparov, Paul Morphy, American chess whiz, on this date he began a match with another chess master. He drew the first game and won the next 7 and the match. Which of these is false about Paul Morphy? B.
All right.
When Morphy's father realized his 10-year-old son's talent, he brought the family to Europe for a month so the boy could have lessons with 3 chess masters. Or C. An acknowledged world champion, Morphy retired from competitive chess when he was 22 years old.
I'll say C.
You'll
Is false.
say, so he didn't retire when he was 22.
Yeah, I'll say C.
Well, I'm going to retire from this question. The champion, I have stumped you all.
Oh.
Nobody gets any points. The truth was that, yes, he did retire, was only 22. Yeah, I'll tell you the whole story. And the thing about, the incorrect thing was the Europe stuff. Morphy was self-taught. He watched other people just play games, and he just learned it. He was one of those genius chess people.
Sounds a little like Mozart.
Yeah,
He was a genius, yeah.
Years old, when he started doing it. FYI, he retired from chess and wanted to become a lawyer, but potential clients would come to see him, and all they wanted to do was talk about chess because he was such a famous thing and his family was independently wealthy. So even though he gave up chess, he gave up law, didn't matter. He just had a really good life anyway. But we have a good game going. We have David Sheward in front with 4 points, and then nobody else on the board yet. But of course, that can change as we move to, let's see, this would be David's question directly, because we begin the second round of our Today Yesterday quiz. So, David, you can get 2 more points here. If you get this right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The year was 1891. Only a month after its premiere in Munich, Henrik Ibsen's drama Hedda Gabler, I feel we just mentioned that, opens in his native Norway. I never liked Hedda Gabler, but I do like ducks and geese. So which of these is false about gobblers? A, the oldest goose in captivity lived just shy of 50 years. B, some police stations in rural China use flocks of geese as guards. C, early bocce balls were made by sewing the webbing from the feet of ducks and geese around compressed clumps of dirt. Or D, chimney sweeps in Victorian England would throw geese down chimneys to see how dirty they were.
Which of these is false, huh?
Which of these is false about gobblers?
So the oldest, well, gobblers meaning geese, right?
Geese or ducks, yeah, but yeah.
Okay, so the oldest duck lived to be 50. In China, they use geese as guards for prison, was it?
In China, some police stations in rural China use flocks of geese as guards.
Bocce balls are made out of, certain bocce balls are made out of web footing, the web in their footing. Victorian chimney sweeps would throw geese down the chimneys to see how dirty they get. Oh, I can't see that.
Chimney sweep with us.
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah. Where's my geese, love? I need a geese to throw down the chimney. I don't think that's, how would they get it back up? You throw it down and it's going to get stuck.
It comes out down the bottom, whether it's full of soot or not.
Okay. I
just helping you there.
Well,
okay.
Soot yourself. Okay.
All right. Well, let's see. We have a C, a B, and a D, but that's no help. I think that geese around as guards, bocce balls. I'm gonna say. So, I didn't realize. Well, Leslie sort of made D more plausible, so I don't think it's D. And it's entirely possible that they would use geese as guards, because they'll honk if somebody gets out of their cell. And a 50-year-old goose. I'll say the bocce balls. C.
You'll say it is not true that at one point they made bocce balls by sewing the webbed feet of
Yeah.
geese and ducks around clumps of dirt. Is
Right.
that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, David Sheward, you are certainly having a ball here on the Today Yesterday quiz on Dave's Gone By. You just got yourself 2 more points. I made that up. That's really sick that someone would take
Yeah.
like a
It
web.
sounded very plausible to me. It really did. Given the country in which you're talking.
What country was it?
Sorry?
What country was it supposed
I
to
thought
be?
he said China.
I didn't say a country.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
China
he
is
said
where there
China.
were guards.
Yeah, China the guard thing, because you're right, of the Hong
Right.
Kong
I thought it was all China.
Kongs, they all start going at it. Bocce balls have been made of wood, clay, metal, or plastic, but not duck's feet. Although early golf balls were stuffed with goose feathers. So that's
Oh, you know, I think that the musical I was talking about with called Pear Shaped, which Liza is going to choreograph,
yeah.
there should be a number with a whole chorus line of chimney sweeps holding their geese. And they
love
do a little dance step and then throw them down the chimneys. And they'll come out all dirty and they'll say, "Look at me, I'm all dirty now."
Oh, I missed all the really good stuff. You know, I will thank the geese on the ducks and the geese on the water. I live on the Hudson, and they kept me sane for the first year of the pandemic. I would go out and I would feed them, and they were extremely calming. And then I found out you're not supposed to feed them bread and they can get very sick. This I did not know. So I stopped feeding them, but I would still go visit them.
Oh.
No, they don't come. They didn't come back this year.
You were supposed to feed them fettuccine Alfredo. They love that. This is cheesy, but it's got to be hot. They like it that way. Anyway, Liza, I'm going to wipe that smile off your face because guess what? Your question after this is one of our different ones. We call this three.
I'm sorry, David, what was that last letter?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was C was the correct
C.
answer.
So we have C, D, B, C.
C. Oh,
Thank you.
Hold on. There we go. Liza, one thing that we do a little differently is that some questions we call 3 clues in the news. And what it has to do with is 3 words or names that are not connected to each other, okay? But they seem random, but each word is connected to the word that we're looking for, okay? So, for example, where's my usual one about, if I were to say sweet couch vegetable, your answer might be, those 3 words aren't connected to each other. What word, like blank, sweet blank, or blank sweet, couch blank, or blank couch?
What's the third one?
Or vegetable is a
Potato.
sweet potato, couch potato. Potato is a vegetable. So all those words are not connected to each other. They're connected to potato. That's how 3 clues in the news works. And there's a little bit of a hint because the word that you're looking for is in some way related to something that's happened in the world this past week in the news. Are you ready?
I feel like I'm living my nightmare of having to be on NPR with Will Short. And no matter what time of day I turn the radio on, it seems that Will Short is on doing the puzzler, which is my nightmare in life. So, okay.
You don't do Wordle?
The puzzle. Oh,
I'm dyslexic, and this is like really difficult. So let's just go for it.
yeah.
So actually,
What are
you
the words?
choreograph all your dances in reverse, and so that
No, spatially, I'm fine.
So here's the deal. Where I'm going to name. There are going to be 3 clues, words or names, and we're looking for a word or a name. Ready? Count.
Count.
Collins. Uncle.
Collins, like spell it.
Collins. Uncle.
I don't have a clue.
Well, I've given you 3 clues.
I don't have a clue in my head.
The answer is making Broadway dance.
Yeah, Yeah.
There you go. That's what you gotta do.
Available from Oxford University Press.
So, do you want to just pass, or do you want to just say
I'm gonna
make you
pass.
Okay, no problem. You'll see how this goes. And it's a tough one. I'm not going to say this is an easy. None of these are easy. I'm going to roll the die, and we're going to see what comes up. And we come up with a 1. I'm going to roll the die again. We come up with a 4. That sounds familiar. Who has 4? Oh, Liza does. Sorry. We're going to come up with a 6. Leslie Hoban Blake, would you like to try this?
No, I wouldn't like to. I'll make a stab at it, but I wouldn't like to at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately went for Tom, but that doesn't work with count.
And remember that the answer is something connected to the news.
Connected with the neighbor's pitfall.
I mean, all I can think of is this fucking war. So, that's
This
My
fucking
brain
is not
is-
the answer.
no, I know. I'll go with Tom. That's the only word that came.
Okay. Final answer?
Yeah.
Well, maybe tomorrow that would be the correct answer, but it is not today. Couldn't do a pun on that. David Sheward, you have a steal opportunity. You could
Well-
put like 8 points on the board here.
Okay, I was going to say Tom also because that's the only thing I can think of that connects Collins and Uncle. So there's the only other thing I can think of is Sam or Michael, but how does Count fit into this? Count. There's no Uncle. I'm sure somebody has an Uncle Michael, but
I do, actually.
and who is Sam Collins? Sam, Uncle.
He's
Oh, maybe
Judy's
it's
uncle.
Cry Uncle, Cry Collins, Cry Count. Count Almaviva. So it's Michael or Almaviva or Dracula. Uncle Dracula. Hey, Uncle Dracula. Yes, nephew. I'll be funny and say Almaviva.
And is that your answer?
No, I'll say Sam. Sam is my final answer.
Sam is your final answer.
Sam is my final answer.
Now, no Barbara Seville haircut for you. I'm afraid nobody got the answers. This was indeed a tough one. The word we were looking for: Count, Collins, Uncle, Floyd.
Oh.
Count Floyd from Sympathy TV. Uncle Floyd.
Oh, okay,
Like
that's real
Collins.
obscure.
Yeah, and
No, Floyd Collins is hardly obscure, but I wasn't thinking.
Well,
along
to
those
an
lines.
average person walking down this, to us maybe it's not, but to the
exactly,
average
you
civilian
guys,
walking
yeah.
down the street, they'd say, "Who's that?"
Right. So, and of course, George Floyd was in the news.
Right.
This week.
They got those 3 guys this week. Yeah.
Oh, the other policeman.
Right.
So, all right, we made it through that question. I told you, Liza, these are not easy. I thought they're.
I didn't think of Count Floyd.
Yes, and when you
I
said
almost did
Dracula,
it.
I thought you'd get
I
it.
was sort of doing the voice, kind of.
Yeah. All right, no problem. We move on. David is still 6 points on the board. No one else on the board yet, but that can
I
change.
just want to make David look good.
Okay, Liza, we girls have to put our thinking caps on now. Can't let him. We won't. Maybe not win, but it can't be a rout, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
Leslie Hoban Blake, this is on you. You can get 2 points here. Are you ready? The year was 1933. Ground was broken today on what would become the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So which of these is false about that iconic structure? A. In 2005, traffic on the bridge came to a halt when an alpaca broke out of a cargo van and began wandering around for 20 minutes before being captured. B. When the bridge was first painted, the orange color was just supposed to be primer before the real colors were chosen. C. When the bridge opened in 1937, the toll was a pricey 50 cents each way. Or in its
And
history,
what year was that?
1937. When the bridge was opened in 1937, the toll was a pricey 50 cents each way. Or D. In its history, the bridge has been closed only twice for visiting dignitaries FDR and Charles de Gaulle. One of these is false.
I think 50 cents in 37, which was still the Depression, was like an incredible amount of money. So I think that jumps out at me right away. The rest of them make sense one way or another. I mean, the alpaca doesn't make sense, but it's so stupid it's probably true.
Yikes.
And we haven't had an A. And 50 cents is C, so that would make 3 C's. But last week he did that to us. I'm going to say that it's false and it costs 50 cents.
Is that your?
Yeah, that's the one that really jarred me when you read it. And Liza is agreeing with me. I can see that. Yes.
Well, I didn't like that answer 1 bit or 2 bits. No, how much is a bit? Is that?
That's a quarter, I think.
Yeah. So.
4 bits is 50 cents, so 2 bits is 25.
Oh, 2 bits is a quarter. Okay.
Good.
It was like 13.5 cents.
Thanks, Dave. I didn't know that. But anyway, Leslie, guess what? It was exorbitant for the time, but it really was 50 cents. It was like equivalent to $9.50.
So only rich people could go across the bridge. Yeah. Everybody else had to swim? What?
I'm serious. It was. That's the wrong answer, I'm afraid. But it really was 50 cents when it opened back in 1937. I'm going to roll the die, and let's see what comes.
I take umbrage. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, keep me some umbrage. Can you just
that was a joke, and I used the word bridge, and I thought somebody would at least raise an eyebrow. Nothing. Oh. Nothing. Crickets. Okay, never mind.
I'm going to raise an eyebrow here.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, David, lower your eyebrow because you have a question to answer.
Okay.
You just rolled a 3.
So which of these is false about the Golden Gate Bridge?
Right.
An alpaca wandered around. The orange color was supposed to be primer, and they just left it. And it's only been closed twice for FDR and de Gaulle. Is that right?
Twice for dignitaries. It's been closed for other reasons, but the only time it's been closed for dignitaries is FDR and Charles de Gaulle.
Well, this is a crap, and I have 4 points.
You have 6.
Oh, I have 6. Oh.
Yeah, lording over us. Yes, you have 6.
Oh, yes. Oh, I forgot I had 6. Oh, my.
I was thinking about the new musical we're going to do called Pear Shaped. Let's see. And
because somebody already did 6, I know.
And there's so in addition to the number with the chimney sweeps and the geese, there'll be a number where an alpaca gets loose.
Wow.
And it can be in like they do in the Music Man. Every Jerry Zaks musical now has a horse costume. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, the alpaca one would be wild and woolly. But
yes. So when he does,
it's gonna be really hard when he does Death of a Salesman. But go ahead.
There'll be a fake horse. All right. Let's see. So alpaca, primer, or twice closed. Could be any one of these. I'll say D, that there were other dignitaries who it was closed for.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, as is the motto of this show, dignity, always dignity, but not dignitaries. That is the wrong answer. Liza Gennaro, you can get on the board with a steal opportunity here. What might you say?
Well, I thought that I did hear about the orange primer when I was in San Francisco many moons ago. So I thought that was true. So I'm going to say false is the alpaca, A.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
You're going to Disneyland because alpaca suitcase for you. That is the correct answer. Yes, Liza Gennaro on the board. We always get really excited when a newbie gets some points. Yes, Liza. That was not true. That did not happen. I'll tell you what did actually happen. A few years ago, an ostrich got loose. It smashed out of a van that accelerated. The ostrich just started wandering around the bridge. They had closing off. People were taking pictures. And ironically, what's great is that alpaca had just been saved from a meat farm. The guy was going to bring it on a farm. And
the ostrich, you mean?
The ostrich.
The ostrich? Okay.
And he was going to have it make baby ostriches, going to use it as a stud.
Well,
And the ostrich just went out of the van, and there's great pictures of it. It's wonderful.
that sounds like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something.
Yeah, true. It's absolutely, everybody, you can go Google it. Just go Ostrich Golden Gate Bridge. And it just happened a few years ago. So, but yay, Liza on the board with 2 points. But you're still behind.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we go into the third round of our today.
Did I get my third question? Oh, that was my third question.
That was your third question, yeah.
That
So
was my question. Okay, sorry.
we go now back to David Sheward, though,
Okay.
who's already got 6 points, so a formidable opponent. And David Sheward, you get our next 3 teams in the news. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
So we all know how this works now. I'm going to have 3 names or words
Yeah.
pointed to another name or word. Are you ready?
Yes.
Note,
Note.
monster,
Monster.
up.
Up. It's got to be MASH.
Is that your final answer?
I was going to say Vladimir, but it's MASH.
Or, well,
MASH.
the most hated word in the dictionary. It is indeed David Sheward. 2 points on the board. You just, wow, like that. You got, was Munster, is that the one that took it for you?
Well, I figured, what can note be? And then you said You said monster, and I said, well, it's got to be MASH.
So,
And
and
then
Leslie, you're nodding. And so, and do we know why?
Something happened. Alan Alda died or something.
Oh, Loretta Swit.
Oh, Loretta Swit died.
No, she's fine. Sally Kellerman.
Sally
I thought I
Kellerman.
meant Sally Kellerman. Sorry,
Sally
same
Kellerman.
role,
Right,
different
that's
actress.
right. Yes.
She died on Thursday at the age of 84. So MASH for
Yes.
Sally Kellerman. Well, boy, oh boy, you are just crushing and mashing this game, David Sheward. You have 8 points.
Yay.
I think you're almost at this. I think you are actually unbeatable at this point. But let's just go to the questions anyway, as you bask in the glory of your victory.
I want to go for the showcase showdown.
Okay.
You can go to the College Bowl, David.
And I want the big deal of the day.
Well, I'll make that happen. But first, I'm going to ask Liza Gennaro a question. Are you ready? Here we go. The year was 1956. 2 poets are invited to a party in Cambridge, and they hit it off. Unfortunately, they're Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath. Which of these was false about posthumous Pulitzer winner Plath? A. Her daughter is a poet whose publisher is Blood Axe Books. B. Her father was investigated by the FBI for being anti-American. C. The Boston Herald published her first poem when she was 8 years old. D. Plath and Hughes chose June 13th as their wedding date because it was the birthday of their mutual favorite poet, William Butler Yeats.
Say B again, please.
B is her father was investigated by the FBI for being anti-American.
I'm going to go with D.
You're going to say it's not true, that her father was investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Final answer?
Yes.
Well, FB, I'm sorry, that is not the correct answer. So we're going to roll that die, and we're going to come up with a 4, which is Liza's number, so that doesn't help us. We're going to come up with a 3, which is David's number. David, here you go, this showcase. Right. Yeah.
So her daughter is a poet, and her publisher is Blood Axe Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Her first poem was published when she was 8 years old, and they chose June 13th because their favorite poet is Yeats. I think, well, I'm pretty sure she did have a daughter, because I remember her complaining about having to take care of babies in London. It was the coldest winter ever, and then she stuck her head in the oven for warmth or something.
I've done that, yeah.
And I think she did write poems when she was a little girl. I'm pretty sure of that. And June 13th. I'm gonna say D, June 13th. is not that Yeats was not their favorite poet. The
Final
whole thing.
answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
Well, David, you would make a great date because you've gotten that right. That is the correct, incorrect answer. 2 more points for David Sheward on the board with 10. Here's the deal. Their wedding date was chosen to be not June 13th, but June 16th because they wanted it to be Bloomsday from Ulysses. So that's when they were married. Her father was investigated by the FBI because he migrated from Prussia just before World War I. So they were worried he would be like pro-German. And
oh, that's right. She wrote a poem about that, about her daddy.
right, yeah, this is pretty famous. And here's her when she was 8 years old. The Boston Herald published this lovely little thing. Hear the crickets chirping in the dewy grass. Bright little fireflies twinkle as they pass. Doesn't really sound like Sylvia Plath, does it? But that was her.
And then they all killed themselves.
They exploded. They spontaneously combusted.
Yes.
And
And Sexton throws a party, you know.
Man. So here's one more question.
that was funny.
In our Today Yesterday quiz before the tiebreaker, my question goes directly to Leslie Hoban Blake. So Leslie, if you get this, you get on the board. You get 2 points.
You know, you talk about there's a word for stuff when you do it, and it's stupid for doing it. I can't think of the word.
No,
No, but there's a word for you, like, you know, it doesn't matter whether you do it. It makes no sense. It does. That's what I'm doing now. I can't think of the word though, but go ahead.
Sissy pussy.
Moot. Thank you. It's moot. That's the word. Thank you.
You're most welcome. So here's a moot question, Leslie Hoban Blake, to end round 3. And guess what? It's our third 3 clues in the news.
Oh, I love you dearly for that one.
Ukraine. The answer is Ukraine.
Maybe.
So UCRANE. Right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. 3 words, not connected to each other, connected to... Okay. Rider, old, blue eyes.
Ah.
Want to share?
When we're done, in case anybody else wants to try to answer this, I'll tell you why I'm laughing. You must know why I'm laughing. But I don't know what the word is. Okay, I'm just going to share what my mind is. CC Rider and Old Blue Eyes together is Sinatra. So obviously, so I have no idea where that would go. Blue eyes, blue eyes. Does Putin have blue eyes?
That guy that's from the Ukraine, he had blue eyes. One blue this way, one blue that way. But
David, read the room. It's too soon.
I know, yes. It's never too soon for a comedian. Come on.
That's right. That's right.
I have no idea. I sort of foxed myself because my mind went a certain place and it won't go anywhere else. So that's it.
So
I'll stick with my 0. I'll wear my goose egg proudly, since I love geese. It's okay.
So your answer is making Broadway dance. Is that correct?
My answer is I'll throw it to Liza. Making Broadway dance. Absolutely.
All right. Well, so I'm going to roll the die because it could be either David Sheward or Liza Gennaro who gets the next question. It's a 1 that comes up. We're looking for either a 4 or a 3, depending. I'm just keeping rolling the die until I get either a 4 or a 3. La 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 la. And oh, for God's sakes.
Take a dance break.
David Sheward.
Yes.
This question now goes to you. 3 clues in the news.
All right.
Rider.
Old blue eyes.
Right.
It can't be easy because it doesn't make sense. Easy blue eyes, old easy. And yeller doesn't make any sense because there's not a yellow rider or yellow blue eyes. Blue eyes. And Leslie's right. Old blue eyes would be Sinatra. So that would go with that. old, and it's not paint, rider, and it's not CC, rider, hauling, rider to a contract, rider, blue eyes and celery, I don't know, blue eyes, I'm gonna say Kiev.
Is that your? Is it Kiev or Kiev?
It's
Kiev.
Kiev.
I'm gonna say Kiev.
Doesn't matter. Either one would be wrong. So, Liza Gennaro, do you want to try and steal this question and put 2 more points on the board?
I'm happy to say that I did have the same thinking as our other 2 contestants. I've been trying to make easy work. The old blue eyes, I can't figure out how that's not. Ghost, isn't there something about a ghost writer? Can't make sense of that.
Yeah.
So I think I don't have anything.
I think that's a comic book or a comic book character, Ghost Rider.
So are you gonna?
Nicolas Cage.
Oh.
So Liza, you're gonna come up or just what's the name of your book?
Making Broadway Dance.
Making Broadway Dance. There we go. Well, I did stump the past. This was a really tough one, but here's the deal: rider, old, blue eyes. The word we're looking for, pale.
Oh, pale.
Oh, Old Pale?
Old Pale. Very
the vodka.
Old Pale. Pale Rider and Pale Blue Eyes, the Lou Reed song with the Velvet Underground, and Pale because Gary Brooker co-wrote and sang Procol Harum's first hit, Whiter Shade of Pale, and he passed away last week. So. Okay. I know that was a toughie.
You pulled that one out of your belly button, didn't you, David?
I did sort of see that somewhere out of the corner of my eye, but it wasn't as prominent as Sally Kellerman's passing. So
yeah, but they're both tripping like fang as we speak. So, ladies and gentlemen,
for the record, before we go to the tie, I know it's David's game, and I thank you, Liza, for at least not making it a total wrap. It's so interesting, the letters this week. The first 3, CBD, is what's keeping me sane these days.
Oh.
And the other 3 is CAD is CAD. So you've been a terrible CAD to us this week.
Thank you
go
very
ahead.
much. That's
sorry.
it. Leslie, why are you, do you mind sharing why you're using CBD oil? Why you're in pain?
Oh, I've been using it for pain. It got me off fentanyl.
Oh.
I was on fentanyl. My entire body is nothing but
CBD
bones.
CAD.
Yeah. What?
Oh, I just saying CBD CAD. So that's
CBD CAD. But the CBD has been exceptionally helpful. It's supposed to keep me calm. It has not helped me this week on that score at all. Not at all.
Okay. Well, everybody calm down now because it's time for the tiebreaker. It doesn't mean anything because David Sheward is the winner. Yay, David Sheward every week, almost every. But congratulations, David. So.
David, don't hate the player.
No, I'm sure Liza hates the game.
David has a sort of a favorite son thing going on here with David. It's
Liza's an academic. We're used to
favorite nation, I should say.
Well, there's a lot. Half of these were guesses,
Oh, they're always like halfway.
There's no way.
It's very sweet of you. It's sweet of you to be so humble, David.
There's no way you can. There's no way you can know this stuff. Some of this.
It used to be more of a when we first started, like 2 or 3 years ago. It was more of a like real trivia. Like if you knew it, you'd know it. Now it's sort of like what you've got.
Well, not only that. Initially, Liza, the things actually happened on the day that we're talking about. Then he just used it as a springboard, and we always got hysterical. Like it would be, and then the 10 things about pizza. It was. It just.
But I did learn that my favorite thing today is the chimney sweeps and the geese. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing that.
But it makes so much sense. It's such a sensible.
Like a chimney sweep with a goose under his arm, knocking on. Hello,
right.
Mom. Can I?
That's exactly right. In all likelihood, it didn't hurt the geese. I hope.
Yeah, I guess they just flew right down. They just got dirty. They probably coughed a little bit.
They have an agent.
Maybe some of them got like that lung disease.
They're sad.
Anyway.
They didn't live long enough.
Yeah. And then people would actually not pay the chimney sweep. They would pay the geese. And the goose would just put it on my bill. But I'm sorry. Tiebreaker time. So here's how the tiebreaker works.
Oh, my operation.
this is why I had you get a pen and paper, because what we do instead of the typical answer is all three of you will write down the answer. I'll read the question a second time, and then I'll go 3, 2, 1, and then you will hold the answer up to the camera so that we can all read it and you can all answer simultaneously.
Okay.
Are you guys ready for the tiebreaker question?
Yes, just
As
like
it
on
were.
Jeopardy. Yes.
The year was 1944. Born today in New York City is this billionaire philanthropist, executive, art collector, and politician, former U.S. ambassador to Austria. He's the president of the World Jewish Congress and could have been mayor of New York had he not been bested by Rudy Giuliani in the primary. Name him.
These are New Yorkers.
So this is a real trivia question. Now you missed the messed up ones I write. Yeah.
I
Read it
should
again.
know this.
Read
You
it
probably
again.
do.
Say it again.
Read it again.
The year born today in 1944, February 26, 1944.
He was born in 1944.
Yes. In New York City is this billionaire philanthropist, executive, art collector, and politician, former U.S. ambassador to Austria. He's the president of the World Jewish Congress and could have been mayor of New York had he not been bested by Rudy Giuliani in the primary. Name him. Is that,
I know who it is. I don't know how to spell it.
try. We're going to take points off for spelling. Although poor addition we do. So if you
discourage plagiarism.
I believe he also founded a museum, but I can't remember how to spell his name. Everybody else ready?
Yes.
I got nothing, so I'm putting up.
If you misspell it,
I'm putting it up a name. It's going to be wrong, but I know who it is. I just can't. I don't remember how to.
it's
What is?
spelled, it's fine.
No, I didn't spell it fine. I think I'm off on a tangent, but I know who it is.
All right.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if Leslie knows whether she spells it right or not. David, you seem to be somewhat confident. Liza, you'll hold up your book. So here's. I'll read the question one more time. I'll give her 3, 2, 1, and then you'll hold up your answers. 1944. Born today in New York City is this billionaire philanthropist, executive, art collector, and politician, former U.S. ambassador to Austria. He is the president of the World Jewish Congress and could have been mayor of New York had he not been bested by Rudy Giuliani in the primary. Name him. 3, 2, 1. I see George Soros. I see Lionel. I can't read your. I see Making Broadway Dance, of course. Someone Lerner. Is that Lionel Lerner?
Yeah, that's as close as I can get. His mother is a famous beautician, and I can't think of her name either.
Well, okay.
Lauder.
Soros.
Lauder. Thank you. It's not Lerner. It's Lauder. Thank you.
Well, guess
couldn't
what?
come up
Leslie,
with
that was,
Lauder.
it is still alive and running. Is Ron Lauder.
Oh, yeah.
Ron,
Okay.
So,
And he founded the the Noy Museum on 86th,
Yeah.
which I love. I love that
couldn't-
museum.
So,
Little Vest Pocket Museum.
His mother is Estee Lauder.
right.
Estee Lauder. I mean, I said famous beautician. I just couldn't come up with. My mind just went Elizabeth Arden. You know, it didn't help.
Let's not fight. Let's all make up. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been playing the Today, Yesterday Trivia Quiz. So I want to thank so much the folks who have been playing it. First of all, and foremost this week, Liza Gennaro, who just held up her book, Making Broadway Dance from Oxford University Press, available wherever books are sold. Liza, what are you directing at Manhattan, or I'm sorry, choreographing at Manhattan School of Music?
Well, we just completed Dave Malloy and Kristen Knight's Don't Stop Me. And coming up, we have Sunday in the Park with George, directed by Don Stevenson, and very little dance in it, but I've been working on it as well. And then we have a new show, workshop in development, called One Way by Christopher Staskell and Ben Bonema.
Do you have a favorite Sondheim musical? Because we're still all sort of.
Do I have
reading.
a favorite Sondheim? Yeah. Little Night Music, I think, and Sweeney. We did Sweeney a couple years ago. We haven't done Little Night Music yet, but I'd love to.
And let me move on to our other wonderful, our weekly guests playing the Today, Yesterday Trivia Quiz. First of all, Leslie, Hoban, Blake, you are on the podcast, the video podcast, Critics Circle with Charlie Gross. It's a channel on YouTube. You can watch the most recent episode as well as your previous ones. What is your most recent episode of Critics Circle?
The Cyrano review. It's on YouTube.
Cool. Okay. And is there going to be another one next? Are you prepping one, or?
I don't know. Right now, as you know, Charlie is very busy working on working. So
yeah, no muzzle.
Right now, we're not doing anything. So
cool. And David Sheward, you're writing stuff all the time. So what reviews of yours can we read in culturaldaily.com and theaterlife.com?
Most recently, Intimate Apparel and Black No More, which has one of the best parts of it is its choreography by Bill T. Jones.
Okay.
It has a very short run, but the Bill T. Jones is he's amazing. Do you like his work, Liza?
I love him. Yeah, I saw the show last week.
Oh, wasn't the dancing great? That was the best part of it. The Music Man, I have a review of that, which I thought was, I thought Sutton Foster she was the focus of attention. It should have been called Marion the Librarian instead of the Music Man. And I just last night saw The Hang by Taylor Mack off Broadway, which is weird. So I'll write something about that. And tonight I'm seeing English at Atlantic Theater Company / So
you're back at the theater with a vengeance, eh?
Well, it's like that's like 1 or 2 a week. And on my blog, I've been writing about Oscar. I'm trying to see as many of the Oscar-nominated films as possible. And so I wrote about that, and I just have Licorice Pizza and Drive My Car. And once I see those, I'll have seen all the best picture
Are you going to go to the movies to see Licorice Pizza? Because it's not on TV.
Then I'll have to.
Maybe they'll send you a link if you show them what you're doing.
Maybe.
Yes, of all the short subjects that you've been watching, I'm sure the animated shorts and the docu shorts. What was your favorite short subject of the year?
Well, what I've seen, I really like this real cute cartoon called Robin Robin about a little robin who is adopted by a family of mice. And she thinks she's a mouse. And so they sneak into a house together, but she gives them away. And so she sort of feels rejected, and she makes friends with a magpie voiced by Richard E. Grant. And this cat tries to catch them, and the cat sounds like Margaret Thatcher because the voice is Gillian Anderson. And I'm going to eat you now, darling. And it's a very amusing it's like a 30-minute, and it has songs. So it's like a little mini musical. It's very cute.
Do they throw him down a chimney to see if he...
Yes.
That too. And does it go pear-shaped, Dave Sheward?
Yes, and it's on Netflix, so one can see it.
Oh, cool. I'm going to check that out. Well,
Fatso was on last night, if anybody's interested. With that.
What was?
Fatso, Anne Bancroft's
Anne Bancroft's movie with Dom DeLuise. Oh.
Very good.
Wait,
when you said pear-shaped, that's what I thought of.
He probably smells very good.
I don't know what.
Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning. Let me thank all of you so much for being with us in the
Thank
day.
you.
David and Leslie and Liza. So
lovely meeting you, Liza.
Yes.
Meeting you
missed
too.
a wonderful, if you weren't watching earlier, Liza's conversation with Rabbi Saul was just so informative about dance and so much fun.
I'll watch it tomorrow when you put it up on YouTube.
We will. So have a good one, guys. Let's do them.
Bye. Look out for our new music.
Congratulations, David. Well done.
Thank you. Look out for our new musical, Pear Shaped.
Bye, Dave. Thanks so much. See you
Bye-bye.
next week.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Liza. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
I'm not sure. I
And-
said I know who it is, Squeak,
Wait.
and then
Not my morning. I should have just called in and should have just called in sick.
No, we were happy to have you. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I get the door prize.
You get the
right?
door prize. That's true. Here's a
Get the
door.
dummy prize. Okay, bye.
Okay, now someone was writing squee? That sounds familiar.
Iris said, I know who it is, Squee, S-Q-U-E-E. And then Vicky said, clue, he probably smells very good. And I wrote question mark.
I don't even know what questions those were related
I don't know what
to.
they respond to.
Squee sounds familiar.
I don't
And
know.
that sounds like something I knew. Can you Google squee? I think it might be from either a musical or some something where squee was a thing.
It says to express great delight.
Yeah.
A squeal of delight, a cry of delight or excitement.
Squee. Well, we are here in the Daverhood with Dave's Gone By, our 839th episode of the show, live on this February 26th, 2022. We're calling this one Gen X for our wonderful guest, Liza Gennaro. Great sport playing the today-yesterday trivia game, even though, go figure, Dave Sheward won the game. What a shock.
So unusual. Like, he never wins.
But boy, oh boy, that was so much fun. We thank them so much. Got to thank also Michelle Tabnick for setting up the interview with Liza and with Rabbi Saul Solomon. By the way, to find out more about him, please go to his website, shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. This is where you can read and hear his rabbinical reflections, his sermons. Plus, you can watch his stage show, Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon, and 10 episodes of his hilarious show that he did on cable television about a decade ago called Shalom Dammit, Rabbi Saul Solomon's Peace, Love, and Acid Reflux Hour. Those are all at the website shalomdammit.com. By the way, I want to remind you about my own website, not for the show, but the website where you can read my plays and my theater reviews, because I did a ton of reviewing in the 1980s and 90s, especially. Since then, a lot of my reviewing has been on this show. But for the written word stuff, and for my song lyrics, and for the interviews that I've been doing with people, hundreds and hundreds of pieces of writing that you can see for free by going to davelefkowitz.org. davelefkowitz.org. And it's Lefkowitz. I've got a story to tell about the name today, but it's davelefkowitz.org to read all my stuff, and we keep adding more as I get a chance, more and more. So it really becomes this repository for all my work that isn't Dave's Gone By. For all of that, of course, you go to davesgoneby.com for basically every episode of the show we've ever done since the beginning can be streamed or downloaded, davesgoneby.com. Also, we put our archives at archive.org on the Dave's Gone By channel. Plus, if you just want to hear the audio, castbox.fm, castbox.fm for podcast people. So if you don't want to watch the show, but you want to enjoy listening, castbox.fm, look for the Dave's Gone By channel. We have our YouTube channel, which I was complaining about a week or two ago because of censorship, but no problems the last week or two. It's the Dave's Gone By YouTube channel. And remember that if you're in Nassau County and you have Altice Cable, Channel 20, Tuesday nights from 9:30 to 10:30 in the evening, Eastern Time, we have a 1-hour random extract from an episode of Dave's Gone By. Just right there, Channel 20, Tuesday nights, 9:30, if you're on Altice Cable in Nassau County, Long Island. Well, what else do I need to tell you before we move on with more of the show? We have Greeley Crimes at All Times to do. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do. I want to tell you about my night last night. But how you doing, hon?
Good.
Yeah? Anything new? Anything exciting?
I'm trying to watch the show and do stuff. I've got nothing.
It's hard to hear Joyce today, not only because she's across the room, but she's wearing a mask to be around me again. Because we all know COVID's like way down, Omicron's down. I think it'll go up again in September, October, and November. There'll be some new variant. There'll be something where it climbs again, but I think we're pretty safe.
So somebody posted on Facebook, how come in 2020 everybody had a PhD in epidemiology and now everybody has a PhD in like EU and country-based negotiations, right? That's funny. Come on, that's funny.
I only wish President Biden had a degree in something. But so okay, here's the deal. Let me tell. Do we want to do Greeley Crimes first, or tell last night's?
I don't know. Drink your tea and eat your apple.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I took the skin off, so you could.
This will keep me going.
Because someone told me an apple's like caffeine. It helps you,
Really?
Sugar and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I forget. You skin them, which means I can down them, which is great. Thank you. Mm.
Energy.
I'm used to. I normally chew with my mouth open. I'm a disgusting middle class Jew. But so I'll do this. So here's the deal. Let's do Greeley Crimes and Old Times, and I'll loop back and tell the story of where I was for 6 hours last night. Some funny stuff to talk about that. But before, speaking of funny,
This will get you in the mood.
Joyce and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years, where our local daily newspaper was the Greeley Tribune. Still exists, still on the web, and they still publish 4 times a week. It is a real, legitimate local newspaper, despite this headline. But here's the thing. They also do have a sense of humor. And 2 of their weekly columns are intentionally funny, even though they really are based on real things. One of them is called Cop Log, which is based on phone calls from concerned citizens about things going on in their neighborhood. So they have to call the police and say, hey, please check this out. This is weird. Plus, there's a column that our friend Mike Peters does in the paper. It's, excuse me, Cop Log, and then Old Times from 100 years ago. No wonder I'm coughing. I'm drinking from the rabbi's mug.
Oh, jeez.
So our friend goes through the newspaper back in 1922 and pulls out things that were really published in what was then the Tribune Republican, and the things that to our modern eyes are the goofiest, weirdest, most nostalgic, they pull out in print once a week in the Trib. We mix both of those things up to create Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Yes, Greeley Crimes and Old Times, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, we're going to share with you some of the fun things that have been in the paper the past couple of weeks regarding either stuff that happened 100 years ago or just a week or 2 ago. Are you ready, dear? Are you ready and willing and able? Oh, that was quick. Yay. A man on Rangeview Road reported a man in a clown mask trying to break into his home. That's just anything involving a clown mask. I don't care if you're feeding the hungry and you go there in a clown mask, creepy, scary, horrible. Anything. If you're fending off Russians going into Kyiv and giving your life, if you're wearing a clown mask, I think that would be scary to the Russians.
They have something about John Wayne Gacy, but I can't watch it because I'm not afraid of like that stuff. But he's deep. He's like deep sick.
Yeah. Let's have a more normal bit of criminal activity. Oh, do you hear the phone? Oh, I'll get it. Yeah. I got it. A caller on 16th Street, reported that a man threw snowballs at middle school students during their recess. Wow. I guess sometimes you just really want to win a snowball fight. All right, that wasn't that funny. A caller on Center Place Drive said a man... Oh, yeah. Well, let me find out what the man's doing. Hello? Yeah. I'll let people know. A man was standing outside of the store in his underwear playing an instrument. I just hope it wasn't a skin flute, if you know what I'm saying. True. I remember these really actually happened like a week or 2 ago, or people are calling about these things. For example, a clown mask is kind of scary. A caller on 6th Avenue reported a man wearing a bird mask and gloves was acting strange. A man wearing a bird mask and acting normally would still be acting strange, I believe. So, interesting times.
You gotta do you, right?
It's pandemic times.
You do you.
Let's do an old one. Let's go back 100 years to an item that was in the newspaper way back when. Carolyn Tetman, who has a farm with her husband near Lucerne, just heard from a London law office that she inherited part of the estate of her great-great-grandfather, who died 78 years earlier. He was a London capitalist. She will inherit $3.2 million, which they said is being held in a London bank in cash. Amazingly enough, she also heard from a Nigerian king who is holding $3.2 million for her in an escrow
I
account.
told my mom that's called sugar daddy.
Yeah.
That's a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
You got a sugar. If someone puts that much money in your account, you got a sugar daddy.
Also, from 100 years ago, two drivers had a thrilling road race down 8th Avenue, and both were arrested for racing and speeding. They paid the fines and the court costs. One man was from Denver, the other from Scotts Bluffs. Both were driving Ford Coupes. Officers said both cars came into Greeley on 8th Avenue wide open.
Whoa.
Oh, that 8th Avenue. Oh, and my guess is they were probably going like 37 miles an hour way back when. By the way, this comes from the Greeley Chamber of Commerce. Quote, "Why don't the people of Greeley eat Greeley-made bread? They're buying and eating bread shipped into Greeley, while homemade bread is heavier and tastier. Greeley housewives should be baking the bread themselves." Okay.
Yes. Keep women in the kitchen.
Heavier? I don't know, do you prefer bread that is heavier?
I guess if you're working in the fields and you're slaving away, you want something that's going to be.
Oh, more fulfilling. You know what?
Give you some stuff, food.
To say the yeast. Maybe with heavier bread you make more dough. Nah, I just wanted to get a rise out of you. I'm usually very crusty. But honey, I do loaf you.
Thank you.
Are you getting these? Are you getting the subtleties of this?
I'm horrified.
Yeah, okay. Anywho, one more from 100 years ago. They had a Valentine dance at the college sorority, Sigma sorority. The women cut large hearts in half and sent them out to male students.
Ooh.
When the party started, the men and the women would match the heart halves,
Aw,
and that would be their date for the evening.
I like that.
Yeah, so basically the girls went looking for any man with a heart on. You can't beat that joke. Let's go elsewhere. We do this in Greeley Crimes and Old Times, where, yes, almost everything is from Greeley, Evans, northern Colorado, but we also go once or twice a week to someplace further away, somewhere further afield for another piece of comical, true news. And this happened just a week or so ago in Mountain View, California. Danielle Shapiro, age 24, wanted to get her money's worth at a $50 all-you-can-eat sushi buffet.
Oh, God help us.
She ate 32 rolls of sushi, plus appetizers.
Somebody just give you a thumbs up for that. That's the problem. I don't
Something
know
fishy about that.
What's
Yeah.
more disturbing is
32
it
rolls.
either was Lisa, Iris, Janelle, Michael, or me, and I don't think it was me.
Yeah, you didn't know, but
I'm gonna try to post some sushi.
understand 32 sushi rolls. We're not talking about the nigiri.
How do you eat that much?
Well, you don't, because she was rushed to the emergency room and was diagnosed with gastroesophageal reflux disease, aka acid reflux. Shapiro shared the experience in a TikTok video, which first showed her gorging on food, and then in the hospital with IVs in her arms. She said,
David, you know
yeah.
about the competitive eating, how they get so sick.
But she was not complaining. She just wanted to make the most of a $50 all-you-can-eat
But she didn't,
sushi.
because she ended up in,
I want to do that in Valley Stream. They have a place that's like $25 or something for sushi. She said, quote, "I'm a huge fan of sushi.
Yes.
I like to eat it a couple..."
David, understatement.
Understatement of the year.
State the obvious, honey.
I like to eat it a couple times a month if I'm lucky. Our dinner was about 2 hours long because we were so stuffed we had to keep taking breaks. Check this out. She started off with miso soup, 4 gyozas, and jalapeno poppers. Okay. Then came 8 green dragon rolls, 8 snow rolls, 8 California rolls, 8 wakame rolls. Oh, and plus edamame. Shapiro and her friend were so full. How full were they? They had to sit in her car for 30 minutes before driving home.
She's lucky she didn't die.
Well, she said the rice probably expanded my stomach.
Oh my God.
You know, the reason we don't feed ducks,
Yes.
bread and rice. Excuse me for a moment, folks. She went to her boyfriend's house with a stomach ache that she assumed was natural after that size meal.
I don't think that anything about that's natural.
But then she got severe stomach and chest pain. After the hospital, it took almost a week for her to feel normal. Will she ever eat sushi again? Quote, I will definitely eat sushi again. This experience has not ruined sushi for me or the all-you-can-eat sushi experience.
Oh, you're kidding me.
It's just, next time, I need to listen to my body and take things slower. Wow. I never ate edamame and didn't like. This is true. And let's do one more elsewhere, because I've been holding on to these, and this is kind of fun. Hun?
Yes.
Not really fun. This is just weirdly horrible. Just the first line of this. True story. This happened a week ago in Minnesota. Excuse me. In Duluth, where I think Bob Dylan was raised after he moved from Hibbing. Here we go. A Minnesota man was arrested after killing his roommate's 4 emotional support ferrets last week. Let's just unpack that. I mean, emotional support hamsters I get, but ferrets, 4 of them, 4 emotional support ferrets, and he killed them. He did it. This is a quote. I did it, he said.
Oh no. Were these friends?
Roommates.
Oh, really?
Roommates.
Well, that doesn't mean
He
friends.
killed his roommates, 4 ferrets, because, quote, they smelled like shit.
That's horrible.
That was the excuse. They smelled like shit, someone killed them. 27-year-old Levi Arneberg is accused of fatally shooting the animals with a BB gun and dumping their remains in an alley outside his Duluth apartment. Arneberg has admitted to killing the ferrets and told police one of them was laughing at him.
Oh, come on. He's got problems.
One of the ferrets was laughing at him before he shot it in the head.
Oh my God.
Quote, dude, I killed the ferrets. Give me a break, he told cops, because they smell like shit. According to court documents. This is, the rare time I envy my dad's early job as a court reporter. When he'd sit there at the stenotype machine and just take down everything.
He probably got a big chuckle.
Killed ferrets because smelled like shit. I'll transcribe later. Arneberg was charged with 4 counts of animal cruelty and was held in St. Louis County Jail on $20,000 bail. So, yeah. Wow. I don't know if we can top that, but let's go back and do some regular Greeley Crimes and Old Times before we end the segment and do some other stuff on the show. So let me find it again. I'll have to find that page. Here we go. Let's get back to some modern crimes for modern times in Greeley, Colorado. A caller on 65th Avenue reported a jacket lying on a frozen pond, saying it appeared to look like a person lying face down, which except it wasn't. If you can see that it's just a jacket and not the person, it's not really a story. If you can tell it's just a jacket, don't be calling the police. By the way, a caller, when something wrong with the phone. Hold on. Oh, see, gotta get that fixed. Oh, okay, yeah, we're good. We're good. A caller on 20th Street. Oh, so appropriate. Reported someone dumped 10 dead geese
Don't tell David.
by apartment trash cans. Oh, God. And by the way, he also dumped 9 lords of laying and 8 maids of milking. So it was a very, very busy afternoon. Speaking of animals, a caller near Weld County Road 31 asked for help herding sheep. Oh, I wish I'd been there. Oh my God. Road County. Who knew there were shepherds and sheep places? We had dairies. I remember that.
I don't remember a lot of sheep. There weren't a lot of sheep.
I think we passed one goat farm one time.
There weren't that many sheep.
No, not at all. A caller on Grizzly Drive. So, this story will be hard to bear. A caller on Grizzly Drive, said a silver vehicle was doing cookies in a parking lot by the football field and hit the fence. You know what song we sing with that? C is for cookie, is good enough for... Ah!
Oh, no.
Well, cookies is when the truck goes in a circle thing. Or anywho. Let's do... Yeah, what about this? Let's tell you from 100 years ago about old A.J. Olberg, who escaped serious injury late Monday night when his auto overturned near Seeley's Lake. Well, he was trapped in the auto for more than 30 minutes until a passing motorist saw the overturned car. They got Olberg out of the car and he is all right. Speaking of fire, a 70-year-old woman, a resident of the County Poor Farm, burned herself seriously Saturday when she fell asleep in a chair while smoking her corncob pipe. Do people still make corncob pipes? Do they still smoke that? Do they,
I don't think so.
It has that Mon Pa kettle feel to it.
It has like I don't think they have that anymore.
I don't even know if they still have Mon Pa kettle. Now they kind of use a slow cooker. Mon Pa air fryer. But that was, wow, that was bad. One more. New crime. Someone called the police. A woman on Center Place Drive reported a drone that was flying around taking pictures and following her after she left the area. Of course, the drone was her husband. And one more. A caller near 8th Avenue reported a man with light up blue shoes standing in the middle of the street. He possibly had a rifle on his back. Okay, I would call that, if I saw somebody with light up blue shoes standing in the street and guitar, rifle, chimney sweep goose, I would have the cops come and check that out. Anyway, that is Greeley Crimes and Old Times for this Saturday, February 26, 2022. I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and we have more show for you of Dave's Gone By.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool.
Oh, he was not.
I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi. Yay!
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it is about 11:45 Eastern Time here in the Daverhood on the 839th episode of Dave's Gone By. We still have our Colorado Limerick of the Dam to do. I apologize for that in advance. We also want to say hi to all the friends of the Daverhood. But before we do, I was wondering, this happens very often. I was thinking, what am I going to talk about on the free extemporaneous times on the show? Because all week long, I kind of have to think, well, something funny happened. It's amusing right this second. Is it going to be funny if I remember it 6 days from now to use on the show? Or it was a boring week. I went to the office, worked all week, whatever, and nothing really to say about that. Just drove back and forth home. This week I was home. I worked for a school district, and we had off all week, which was lovely. But it's a pandemic. What do we do? We drove around, we looked at houses, we got food. It was not a lot of stories, unfortunately, to tell and share with you until last night, until yesterday. I'm not going to mention names. I'm just going to tell the story
This should be
of what
interesting.
was. Yeah.
This should be interesting.
So, and I'll tell the full thing. So, my mom, love her dearly, okay, is scared of doctors, scared of hospitals. She infused that into me. So I have not even so much white lab coat syndrome as just fear of pain and needles. I've got that. The rest, I'm not so much lab coat syndrome. I'm just
Oh, good.
fear of being poked and prodded and so forth. She has
Maybe
that.
even sexually.
Oh, no, well, yeah, sexually, forget it. I'm terrible at an orgy. I'm like, I'll just hold the feather. But she deals with some. She's 78 years old. She's dealing with some stuff. Thank God, nothing as far as we know terrible. Although she hasn't had a blood test in a couple of years, but presumably she seems fine.
Centuries.
No. When she had her eye stuff done, they took blood and they checked that all out. So it's been about 2 or 3 years. But one thing that she does have, and she's had this for months, is, some women, and that this is very sexist, they get cankles. This is beyond cankles. She has swollen legs, like down from the knee down, especially towards the ankles, just like swollen. And we're thinking, too much salt in your diet. She does not eat well. She'll incorporate one vegetable into her dinner, which is great, but the rest of the time her breakfast is a devil dog and coffee. Her lunch will invariably at some point involve potato chips, and her dinner will be followed by chocolate. And I'm not making fun because I'm a snacker and I love bad food as much as she does, but she eats a lot of salty food, a lot of processed food, a lot of snacks, a lot of that. Okay, so it's a fairly simple, although maybe not true thing to say, God, you're retaining sodium, you're retaining water, look at your legs, they're this, they're that. So whatever she's trying to cut down on potato chips, trying to have mix of salted and less salt potato and to do less and whatever, she's got these swollen feet. What's the deal with it? And then a few weeks ago she had a fall. Thank God she didn't break a hip or anything like that, but she was a bad fall. Cut herself in the fall and got badly bruised. I didn't go with the doctor to do anything. It was just a fall. You figure black and blue, no big deal. Right? But her leg's not getting any better. It's looking more swollen. So finally, we impress upon her the importance of call your doctor, call your GP, and just have her take a look. Let her. She comes to the house, which is a wonderful thing. You don't have to go to sit with sick people in a doctor's office. This person is still making house calls that's her gig, right? Even pre-pandemic, but certainly during the pandemic, they'll come to you. She'll come in, she'll look you over, she'll check you out, and we'll see what the hell this thing is, because it hasn't gotten better in a very long time. So, of course, she was supposed to come Thursday, couldn't make it. She revised it to Friday afternoon. The doctor comes, middle of the afternoon, looks at the leg, sees it, and says, okay, swollen for sure. You had a fall. Let me take your pulse and your blood pressure. Now, when you're dealing with my mother, who is nervous off the charts just getting up in the morning, let alone being worried about something, let alone going to a doctor, right? So immediately, whatever her normal resting blood pressure, which is already like a butterfly heart, is now up here. So when she takes the blood, I was going to take blood. When they wrap the thing and they do the thing, she's like 180,000 over 100 and this. So now the doctor's like, you know what? Because I don't know what your baseline is, but you are just numerically off the charts. Plus you have these swollen feet. Plus you have this acute injury. I'm not just suddenly going to say, oh, get compression socks. Oh, change your diet. Do this. We want to make sure that when you were in that fall, you can damage something and get a blood clot. That's the thing I'm really worried about, because a clot can be there in your leg, it's fine, and then suddenly travels up to your lung, travels up to your heart, could kill you. So it goes from a visit that my mom should have done like a month and a half ago, connected to a chronic condition that she had had for months, to suddenly like, you need to go get a Doppler scan right now, right? Didn't matter that we just decided, it's about time you saw a doctor for this. It's sort of like, right now, Friday afternoon, go, make the appointment, go get there, right? So we do. So get the appointment, bring her over locally, it's like 2 miles away, to get a Doppler scan. They get it done, they just look at her leg, and she waits a little bit, waiting around, and they say, you're good to go home. Wonderful. Everybody's relieved. We figure, okay, so maybe it'll be a diet thing, a compression sock thing, whatever it is. Go home, relief, happy days, go home. And then there's like this call from them about the doctor and saying, well, there was a bit of a delay in this because we looked at the scans and we didn't find anything, but it worries us that we didn't find anything because one vein was too compressed or occluded, and we couldn't really see in the Doppler scan everything we need to. So because we can't see quite everything there, we can't make a complete diagnosis that's saying you don't have a blood clot. You need to go to the emergency room. Okay. Again, understand this went from a nothing burger to now ER. And you know what an ER is like in American medicine. You know, even in the best hospital, in the best places, an ER is a hell ride. So that was a Friday afternoon, and it's like, oh my God, we're going to get you over there to the emergency room to just make sure that, look, because the idiots at the first place couldn't scan you properly to see if your leg is clotted up or not. So we make another plan. We go to the ER, which is about 4 miles away. And, if this had been any other day of the week also, it would have been like Tuesday, it would be like, and we're asking the doctors, like, can this wait until tomorrow? Can it wait until Monday where we can bring her to a regular doctor, sit in an office or make an appointment and stay outside and then go in? No, emergency room, clot, gotta check. So get her to the ER, which, I have never driven there before. First, it was like, oh, okay.
I must say, David, you're an excellent driver.
Who says this?
Me.
Oh, well, thank you, dear. Yeah.
I've driven with you in snowstorms, on ice, on black ice, in the back roads of Colorado. You're excellent.
Well, thank you.
30 days you drove my dog to get treatment. You're excellent.
I know. Yeah, but I'm not, trust me, I'm not that great a driver, but I try and be a decent driver.
You're a very safe driver and you're very cautious.
Well, yeah,
not
overly
cautious.
Yeah.
You're just cautious enough.
So I find the place, and it's really cold. It got really cold and damp. It was a nice day.
Let me give you a hint. It's the place that says hospital.
No, I found that with no problem. I find the parking lot with no problem. We park, and we find the spot miraculously, and then we hustle up to the main entrance of the hospital.
Also has valet parking, right?
They do have valet parking. It's weird.
Yeah, because I've done that before.
But I go in with my mom, and we're like,
You go in, yeah.
Well, we both went in.
You and your mom,
Yeah, and went in, and we asked the guy, okay, so where's the ER? And he's like, no, that's around the corner, because it's the main entrance of the hospital. So, and so, okay, great. And he said, no, you don't want to, it'll be night, it'll be cold. Go get your car, go park by the ER. So we go back, trundling back to the parking lot.
Oh God.
It'd be nice if they just had a fucking sign that said emergency room around corner.
Do they have that?
Huh? If they did, I didn't see it.
They probably have that. I have a feeling they have that.
So we get back in the car. I go tootling around trying to find, and we get to the emergency place. We find parking, which is actually, it's easier to park by the emergency room, thank goodness, than it is by the regular hospital. We go in, and we walk into the, and you understand this is already like a Friday afternoon, late-ish. So it's going to be the worst, Fridays and Saturday nights, right? It's going to be the worst days for ERs. This is when everybody's coming in with accidents and overdoses and what have you, and it's packed. I'll go in and try and register. That takes a few minutes. Pre-register and sign some paperwork. And my mother, God bless her, I'm hard of hearing in this ear. I hear pretty well in this one, knock wood. She's hard of hearing in both ears at this point. It's very tough. And with everybody wearing masks, one of the reasons it was helpful that I was there with her is just because she can't understand what anybody's saying in this world since the pandemic, because everybody's talking like this. So go in, and then like, take a seat in the waiting room. Now understand, there is still COVID. There's still a pandemic. And here you are in this emergency room, and they're redoing this hospital. This hospital is in 2024, it's going to be beautiful. They're putting billions of dollars into it and remaking it. But while they are redoing it, the emergency room looks like the fucking bad side of Penn Station. Right?
Wow.
So we're in there, and it feels, I'm sure it's there, but it's dirty. It's just like, and you're sitting there with sick people, not all of them, but most of them masked, except one girl was like, this African-American woman was kind of lying across three seats, like looking really like, So, food poisoning, not to be racist, but maybe drugs. Whatever was wrong with her, something was wrong with her. And it was kind of cool because she got up from the seats where we were looking at her and goes back. And then we hear some of the best retching I've ever heard in my life. Like, and she doesn't have a mask on while she's doing this shit, right? So that's the thing. We're not going to get COVID from being in an ER. You're more likely to just get fucking hepatitis, or what do you get from tuberculosis from people? Another guy was retching into a plastic bag, or was kind of holding over. It's about to.
Oh, well, there you go.
And then the saddest part was we were facing this other Hispanic lady, and she was just, something happened. She was like, you could see pain face.
Okay. Yeah.
And she just had these boxes of Dome's pills.
Jesus.
That she was holding in front of her. It's an emergency room.
You're not supposed to self-medicate in the ER.
Yeah, that's the thing. She comes in like, Dome's pills in boxes, like, and you can see she had hurt.
Yeah, something was wrong.
So, physically hurt herself. And it's an ER, right? So the one thing about my mom was she was there to just search for a clot. It was not in any way an emergency procedure. But the problem with that, when you go to an ER and it isn't directly affecting heart, is that you're like way down on the list because it's not really an emergency. So anybody who comes in with anything more serious than you, they literally have a sign up there that says triage. Where there is a triage area.
What they do is they do intake and they see where you fall and then they put you. That's why I got the children's room.
Yeah, right. When we brought her they put her in a children's room. This is years ago in Colorado. So, but I know the idiocy of this, of our being here, of like in any other circumstance, any doctor with a fucking brain would have said, you've been living with us for 5 weeks with since the accident, 5 months or a year with a foot swelling. This does not have to be an emergency room visit. You can come in a day or two from now and go to your doctor, or go to a phlebotomist, or go to or who would podiatrist, circulatory, yes. And they can do a Doppler, a better Doppler, and they can diagnose, and they can look, but no. Emergencies, American medicine, and a doctor's thing, the Hippocratic Oath, is do no harm. So a doctor is terrified of saying, well, you can wait until Wednesday, and then if it, God forbid, was a clot, and they die, suddenly they're on the hook for...
But you don't know the person. If patient's not in your care, it's risky.
Right. But this patient has been kind of in her care for years. So I'm fuming because now we know not only we're seeing in like the most unsafe place to be during a pandemic, of people who are mostly masked but not all, of a place that, when a person got up and was sitting in a chair, it's not as if somebody came out with Lysol and cleaned the space. It was like people got up, sat down, people came back, people were eating, nauseous because they're sitting there for hours. So they're going to the machine right outside the doors where you can get a snack or a beverage because you need it. And we're sitting, and then more intake. And let me tell you about this. I mean, this is one of the best hospitals on Long Island. They make her it took like 4 fucking hours just to get to the point where she had a correct wristband in this. So they spelled her last name, my last name, wrong. They put a T in it, right? So they got to change that. And then Mom, yeah, still kind of savvy. She's looking and she said, "Why is there an M?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's some sort of code. Maybe.
No.
And if I tell you 2 more hours before they changed the M on the wristband.
That's a whole other unit. That's a whole other unit. Yeah.
And we're singing, and she goes to, after a while, I mean, you know how nervous she is and how self-directed she is. She's like, she waited a long time before going up and asking, well, how long is this going to be?
Yeah.
And they tell her soon, right? An hour later, I go up to the guy doing intake at the front desk. And I'm like, just wondering, how long is it going to be? And he said, well, you're down here. You've been waiting here longer than pretty much everyone else so far. It's like 2.5 hours for you guys. Soon.
Yeah.
An hour and a half later.
Yeah.
That was soon. That's soon in hospital lingo. That's like that. It's that scene in 30 Rock where the great secret of airline pilots and stewardesses and what do they call the people? Flight attendants. It's like, we have a delay. The delay's going to be about 15-20 minutes. And as soon as they say that, they're lying and it's going to be 45 minutes to an hour. But they want to keep everybody calm, so they'll tell you one thing when they really know, oh no, this is going to be an extra 45 minutes of flight time. So soon, soon is bullshitese. Finally, and I do mean finally, I mean, we got there probably, what was it, maybe 4:30. And somewhere about 9 o'clock, we get her in to be looked at. I mean, we had done some previous stuff. There was a nurse that we talked to first. An intake person, what's wrong, what is this? And, got more information. And of course, there's like 10 different people involved in everything. There's never one doctor who does everything. Is this person who does this person does that, this, that. They give her a robe, so she can keep most of her clothes on, but she's got to go into another room just to get some off, to get her pants off, to get her leg. She comes out, and she's like, what's, how do I tie this? Because, there's a little, she was wearing underwear and stuff, but there's no tie. And they're like, well, no, you kind of got the robe backward. The overfront supposed to be in the, because you don't know, you're scared and you don't know, and you just throw it on. And so she comes back out, and they put her on a gurney, right? They don't let you walk anywhere when you get to a certain point. They put her on the gurney, and I will say that basically every person there was really nice. I mean, from the intake people to the front door guys.
It's a stressful time. They just, they can't stop the flow of sickness.
But they were, but you can tell they could be efficient or they can be nice, and they were really nice.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So there's this one guy named Chris who looked at her initially. We thought he would be the doc, but no, he was just kind of doing preliminary stuff and telling her what they were going to do. They take her for another Doppler, and the one thing that was terrifying Mom, because she's like me, is I don't want to get blood tests, I want to get needles, and we assumed she would go for that.
The doctor wrote a prescription for it.
So, but the doctor, the quote unquote the big doc who finally got to look at her was this Russian guy. He had that doctor smarmy, bravado. He had a little bit of.
His people are, think about what's going on in the world,
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, but he was probably he was Russian.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's Ukrainian,
Do you
but
know if he's Russian or you don't know?
his
From
name.
the stands,
We can probably look it up. I took his name down at one point. So maybe he's Ukrainian, maybe he's Russian. Maybe he's Russian. He's feeling like, hey, one day we will control America. I will own this building, and in this building we will do old Moscow. But he was good. I mean, what's nice was he really, even though he was a bit, I don't want to say vain. What's the word? He was a little cocky.
He was a little narcissistic.
Yeah, as you want doctors to be, I guess. But he was also very like good about being fun and trying to put my mom at ease and being like, yes, it's going to be great. It's going to go great, he says. You know,
Was he selling you a car?
he was like, you know, because he looked, and he said, "This is not," you know, looked at her leg, and discovered and realized, from after waiting more and more and finally getting the results. Because what happens is you do something and it's like, oh, fine, we're gonna find out something, get out of here, and then half an hour later, it's like finally somebody pays attention to you again. But they found nothing, thank God, on the second Doppler, the one that they did at the hospital. And he looks at her like, I said, he, even before she went for the Doppler, he said, it's not, no, it's probably infection. And he looks at her and he said, yeah, you had this thing, is a cellulitis, this and this, and this. You're going to need antibiotic. So he's going to have to do that. And that's basically, now she is going to follow up with her GP. She should have a blood test just to see that all her regular stuff's in order, you know. But basically at the end of this was, yeah, because you haven't treated this quite properly since you've had the accident, you've developed a bit of an infection. You need this, and fine. But understand.
She was pregnant.
That's right. Well, they did an ultrasound, is what they did. 6 hours. 6 hours sitting with, you know, there was a guy, oh my God, while we were in the actual part of the place where we were really being looked at, finally, there we could see this other guy. He had a blister on his foot, and they were admitting him over that, because if they found something in mom's leg, they would have admitted her and had to do some real surgery. But they're lifting this guy's foot, and he's
Oh, no.
and they're cutting it. I'm not looking, but they're cutting into for a blister on the foot.
God.
And then there's another guy we can see. They don't close the curtains, so there's another guy in the bed, and he's like looping and
He's got good men.
so I'm trying not to fucking pass out, because you know me with needles and running about, and they're starting IVs on people. There's no privacy. It's just, you know.
You should have taken off your clothes and got down with it. And like, woo!
I know, yeah, guys, I've had a rash for a year. Can somebody fucking look at that? You know. I figure we're here 6 hours. We should get more for our money. But
you should have asked them, what time do you come around with drinks and food?
But so I'm half of one and half of the other. I'm very happy with the people and the treatment that, even though they really should figure out a way to make emergency rooms in hospitals.
Or why couldn't she go to urgent care?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Or I think they were trying to book her into it and they were full and they couldn't, like for the original Doppler thing, she called one place and they couldn't get her in. But this whole idea of taking 6 hours of fear, scariness, dread, waiting, you know, because it's an emergency room. It's a horrible place to be, right? In fact, in some ways it's weirder because it's almost calmer in the place where they're working on people than of people just waiting. And there was a policeman coming in holding a little baby. You know, I was wondering what that was about. Just, you know.
Well, you know, sometimes they get around, so.
The parade of what goes on. And it just, the anger part is there was no need. There's no need for that process to take 6 hours in an emergency room, right? And there was no need to send this woman, this 78-year-old nervous woman during a pandemic, into an emergency room for something that should have just been a simple, you know, specialty doctor's visit on a weekday afternoon. Of like, yeah, Monday morning you make a call, make sure they get you in pretty quick, and just go. You'll sit in the waiting room probably 15, 20 minutes, fill out some paperwork, they'll see you, and then you'll go have lunch. Right?
You know what would have helped?
What?
If you got me a puppy.
It has nothing to do with anything.
Yes.
Well, no, that bugged, you know, that bugged me, since you're bringing that up.
What,
When we lived in Colorado,
Yeah. But I
And-
had what?
and we had 2 dogs,
Yeah.
right? The dogs that we loved.
You love one.
Well,
you
yeah.
love one.
Well, you loved one more than the other, and I loved them both, but I also hated them both at times. But one of the things that I hated was we would go to the. Oh no, it wasn't Colorado. Excuse me. No,
Yes, it was
No.
here.
it was here when we went to a veterinarian on Long Island
David,
before
what
we
is
moved.
this, like David vents for everything
We're-
from day one.
Because I was filming last night. I'm sitting there. Thank God I brought my computer
Well, you
and
read-
my phone and a book.
Didn't you read the seal book about
Yeah.
about?
Oh, I should take that out of my bag if you'll bring that over because we'll have him. He's going to be a guest in a.
Yeah,
we
it was
could-
all about baby seals, right?
But the interesting thing was, like, when we had our dogs in New York, when we were living in a house not too far from where we are now, and we bring our dogs to the vet, and we loved our vet. He was a great guy, very good staff with him. And he did great by our dogs.
He's
but-
no longer there. They have big
Yeah.
turnover.
But when we would bring him, and because we had dogs, and because one of them had all sorts of problems all the time,
There's a dachshund that's in Long Beach, 8-month-old beagle dachshund mix,
Ooh,
12 pounds.
oh, that's
I am
cute.
so sweet.
Joyce is looking to adopt at some point another
We
dog.
would love to. Wait, we would love to be adopted together. Who's the other one?
But point is, we would go to this vet, and I knew as soon as we walked in the door, whether it was emergency or not, well, thank God it was rarely an emergency, but no matter what, we would sit there an hour before somebody saw us.
I know.
We were just in the waiting room. It didn't matter whether it was a Tuesday morning or a Friday, rush hour afternoon. You would go there and you would just sit and sit and sit, and finally they see you. And I knew that like half my fucking day would be killed by just waiting, not for the dog going to the vet, not being charged exorbitant rates for being seen and the medicine the dog was getting, but just the killing of time, sitting there waiting to be seen.
This
And I
is-
thought that was normal.
This is David T.S. Eliot. This is the room where people go. This is the room
And talk
where
of
people go
Michelangelo.
Talking of Michelangelo.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then we went to Colorado and we found a veterinarian out there,
yeah.
and suddenly we were waiting 10 minutes.
Well,
And I was
also
like,
they had a
this can be done.
No, but they also had like many.
Take a little Farcine.
They had many vets, and they had more rooms.
Fine. Do that in
Yeah.
New York.
So they could put you like, even if there's like 5 rooms, or they could put you in a room.
It's not as if emergency rooms are new.
I know that.
Now, understand, post-pandemic, they are understaffed. They were saying that they would love more doctors and nurses and whatever, and more room, and they are going to be bigger in 2024. So I get, but hospitals have been around for many years. Emergency rooms have been, urgent care is not as much, but you figure they could figure fucking out how to deal and how to make
They
people's.
do. They can, but they can't. Like if it were me, this is what I would do. Like I would have an emergency room, and then I would divide it into sections. And once you come in, I would triage you,
Yes.
and I would put you like in the urgent care section, like you need to go for surgery now, like you have a gunshot or something bad, and then a middle section, and then I would have different.
Even more than that. You know what I would do? 2 things. I would say, you're not so urgent.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 hours. Go come back if you
Well,
want
why
to.
didn't they say go in your car and they'll text you when they're
They
ready?
did. It was so crowded there at one
Yeah,
point
yeah.
that they asked all people who weren't patients
Yeah.
to go either, and it was like a 30-degree night, to either wait outside or go wait in your car, or go home and come back and leave the patient, which is fine if your patient isn't deaf,
Yes.
which is fine if your patient doesn't need to be, helped by you to go to the, or whatever. I was like, no, yeah, just the patient. And I told the guy, I'm like, my mom can't hear. You tell her something, she won't hear it.
Yeah.
So I stuck around. But
David, you did.
but imagine this.
Yeah.
Imagine that Outback Steakhouse figured out something
Yeah, they
that
did.
hospitals can't.
They could with the blood draw. When I went for my blood draw, because the one doctor wanted me to go to that other lab. Like
Yeah,
Quest.
louder, yeah.
When he wanted me to go to Quest, I checked in ahead of time online. You could check in online, and then I was stood outside, and they texted me and they said, "Come in, your appointment. It's time for your
Yes!
blood draw." And that's what.
How hard is that? Why can't I think in an emergency room, once you're there, they want to get a thing on you and not let you leave until they've
that's
seen you.
true.
They don't want to
That's
be
true.
responsible.
It might be for that's a good point. Yeah.
But I'm sorry. You you could create more stress. I was worried I wasn't worried about my mom having a blood clot. I was worried about her having a heart attack
Yeah.
from stress.
But at least she's at the right place if it happens.
So that just pisses me off about the healthcare system. I don't know if it's worse in other countries. I don't know.
It's bad everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, unless you have a place like, you know, I mean, Italy has the issue of an older population and that thing, but most places, unless you have some kind of state-sponsored medicine or where people really care.
Yeah. But I also resent doctors who are like, I'm 80% sure, but let's send you to this and this, and let's do this and this.
The same thing happened to my mother who fell and had the same thing, and she went to her foot doctor, who's not an MD, and he said, look, she went to her primary care, and he said, you could go to this guy in Richmond Hill. My mother would have to travel. So I asked her, I said, try to find somebody local. So she found this circulatory guy with nurse practitioners, a whole team of people. She could walk to it. They, they ultrasounded her leg and looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said she was okay. They gave her the support hose, prescription off thigh high.
Yeah.
She did it. They said, come back. And they said, if you get any more stuff, come back in,
Yeah, they did say, look, go home if you suddenly have a change in your if you have fever or something. Please, yeah. But what has happened is, we finally, because I had gone to the theater one time 2 weeks ago. This week I was off from work, but I've been working. So Joyce is extra careful about the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. So, but finally, it's like, okay, pandemic's going down. I don't have COVID. So we're like together again, and like the same space. But now, after yesterday, we pushed our two like single beds apart again. She's wearing a mask as we speak, and there's nobody else in the fucking room besides me. We've got the windows open.
I also sprayed Lysol up here, not in this room, but in the other room.
But why? Because I was surrounded by sick people for 6 fucking hours last night. So I'm more likely now to get COVID than my mom is to get a clot in her leg, just because of the way the whole system works. And I'm not saying emergency rooms have to be there for, and if someone comes in and it's urgent, everybody else has to wait. Of course, we get that. But there's got to be a better way. There's got to be that thing where they hand you like an Outback. It buzzes when you're home. And they say, your appointment is in 15 minutes. Come back, right? Or go to a local coffee shop. Or go to, build a coffee shop in the building. And they say, it'll buzz. We'll tell you, come on up. Why they cannot do this?
I don't know.
Is so far beyond me. What a fucking waste of time. Even though, thank God it ended well.
Yeah.
I would be singing a different tune if they say, it looks like she's got a clot, we gotta go in.
Yeah.
I would obviously be telling a very different story.
And unless you look, you don't know.
I know. But I think it could have been a different procedure, a different process of looking. Not to mention why the first place, if they couldn't see everything on the Doppler, didn't say, come on back, let's do another Doppler.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Just come on back. Come, we're closed already. Then come back tomorrow. Saturday, we're open. Just we'll do the Doppler now. Big fucking deal. Yeah. Anyway, you can see I'm in a joyful mood here on Dave's Gone By. So that is my yesterday, my last night story. We didn't know if we'd be there until, because that's the other thing, you just don't know. We thought we'd be there till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Happily, we got out of there about 10:30. After being there since 4:30 in the afternoon. But at least that was good. And the other thing that messed my head up was I'm not comfortable night driving.
But you did great.
Yeah, I managed. And there wasn't a lot of traffic on the road. It was fine. But you know how tense I get driving in new places, even in daylight.
But you're David, you're a very good driver. You are.
Well, thank you. Thank you, my dear. Well, I do drive the conveyance of this show.
It says Ukraine outmanned, outgunned, has slowed Russia's advance on Kyiv and 2 other cities as forces wage a ferocious resistance.
Yeah.
So Ukraine, they're fighting and they're resisting the Russians.
Good for them. Bless their hearts.
They stop the advance of the Russians.
It would be nice if the Russian army kind of looked around and said, "We're all brothers. Let's not fight." If they said, "Fuck Putin," we're.
Do you remember my grandfather, I mean, he hated the Russians because they invaded Poland or wherever he lived. But in that part of the world, a lot of times the boundaries change.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
you could have, it's like India, Pakistan, it's the same thing, right? Or Bangladesh, right? You could have family in across like, you know, a couple blocks and they're in another territory or
Oh, yeah.
state. I mean, it's, it's,
And honestly, if you ask the average person like 3 years ago,
yeah.
oh, what is Ukraine? I was like, ain't that part of Russia? I mean, we don't.
I want to look up because prior to this president, there was a lot of civil unrest and a lot of protests and student activity. I don't know it, so I need to do more research.
And I've got to say, I had no idea, and I was very proud to read a couple of. Who knew that the president of Ukraine was Jewish? That his family was Holocaust survivors? I mean, he's not going to survive too well. I mean, they may let him live.
That's
You know.
a hard. He's
He's in a tough place, but he's being brave about it. Got to give him props for that. Oh, what a world! What a just when you think you've lost everything, you find you can always lose a little more. Here in the Daverhood, we're doing our 839th episode of Dave's Gone By. We've been calling it Gen X in honor of our delightful guest, Liza. Excuse me, I'm getting that 3-hour mouth doesn't work thing. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good on the tea. No, but I've also got my seltzer here. So, calling it Gen X for Liza Gennaro, our great guest. Thank her again.
It was nice. I put in her the link to her book on Oxford. I put in a link to her. She's got a private website, and I put in her link on her academic site.
On the Facebook, just click on the link to find out more about Making Broadway Dance. Making Broadway Dance by Liza Gennaro. Get yourself a copy. I mean, what fascinating
pictures of all 4 of you.
Oh, I'll bet. I'll bet. Now, she is now a brand new friend of the Daverhood. Those are people who've been on this program in months or years past. And, we're grateful to them because they do wonderful things like write books and choreographed musicals. So what are they up to? After they've been on Dave's Gone By, we still kind of follow them and want to know what they're doing. And we call that Friends of the Daverhood. So the Friends of the Daverhood, let's see what folks who've been on this show before are currently doing with their lives, and especially their work lives. That's what we really want to know. So, for example, oh my, we have a bunch. For example, tonight, Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano are singing the American Songbook at Birdland on West 44th Street. They're there every Saturday, and they're doing it all the way through March, and will probably be extended beyond that. So see Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano tonight, 7 o'clock at Birdland. Also happening tonight at Landmark on Main on Long Island, musician David Broza. I'm not sure what time that starts, but it's at Landmark on Main out there on the island. Letting you know that starting tonight and running through mid-April, Robert Cuccioli is starring in A Touch of the Poet for Irish Repertory Theater over on West 22nd Street in Manhattan. To get tickets and for more information, go to irishrep.org. On Monday, is just a one-day thing, J.O. Sanders is among the actors appearing in A Tempest. Not Shakespeare's Tempest, it's kind of a revised version of that is being done by the Red Bull Theater. And it's both in person and a live stream. It's in person at Florence Gould Hall. But what a marvelous actor J.O. Sanders is. Go absolutely see him. He was on Broadway in the Bob Dylan show in Girl from the North Country, which they're hoping or thinking of bringing back. Haven't heard word of that yet. But if they do, I hope he's in it. Playing now just through tomorrow. David Sheward mentioned this show, Black No More, at the Signature Theater Company off Broadway. Oh, sorry. It's the new group is producing the show at the Signature Theater. It's called Black No More, and it features our friend Lilius White, just playing today and tomorrow. Barb Younger on Thursday. She is directing another person's cabaret, Suzanne Mack. It's called Fragments, and you can see it at Pangea over on just off 2nd Avenue. That is this Thursday, March 3rd. Playing now through March 8th, Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks, Mondays and Tuesday nights at Bond 45. Playing, let's see, now through hopefully forever, Chicago on Broadway, Ray Bahour plays Amos. Alan Menken has contributed, of course, the music for Aladdin on Broadway at the New Amsterdam Theater. Monday nights, Jim Caruso's Cast Party at Birdland. Go to birdlandjazz.com for tickets. Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com. Great website for New York nightlife stuff. And Dr. Demento, doing new and old Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. Bob Cudmore, podcasting about upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. Soundsofbroadway.com is a website of 24/7 show tunes and Broadway music, which is curated and founded by our friend Stuart Brown. And I want to remind you that off-Broadway you can still see Catherine Russell in a show that she's been in for about 34 years now called Perfect Crime. They got like 14,000 performances of this thing. It's still there. It was the first show to reopen after the pandemic. Perfect Crime off-Broadway with Catherine Russell. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Well, it is almost 12:30 here in the Daverhood on this Saturday afternoon, February 26th, 2022. Let's see, I've told you pretty much all I need to tell you. We've done pretty much all we need to do in the program. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Hewlett Minuteman Press over on Broadway in Hewlett, Long Island. You know, it's one of these franchises of Minutemen run by the Torong family, and I've used them to print my journal, my Industry Theater Journal, Performing Arts Insider. I'm not going to do a plug for them, not actually going to do a commercial or anything like that, just letting you know that they exist. Hewlett Minuteman Press over on Broadway in Hewlett. What else did I want to share with you? No, I think we're good. I think we're what? Huh? Is there a poem about something that you want to hear? That's right. How can we stop the show? How can we not include in this episode of the program what we do every week here, a poem about a place in Colorado? And today, this was a tough one. This was a really tough one. Bountiful, Colorado, for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme, and likewise verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain, Colorado, Colorado.
Yes, Colorado, indeed, we go to every week here because we lived in Colorado for several years, and I took it into my head to start writing a poem about as many places, many city names, town names as I possibly could, and I'm still doing it all these years later. And once a week, I share a Colorado limerick of the damned with you. Because when I say the damned, it's because nearly all of them are evil, sexual, sexist, disgusting, horrible, sadistic, masochistic. They're limericks. They're not. They're supposed to be a little bit off. And so we go today to Bountiful, Colorado. Nothing to say about this town. Usually I give you a little background. It's an unincorporated county in far southern Colorado. It's a ranching community likely named by Mormons who called it Bountiful. It's got no shops. It's got no restaurants. It's really one of these ghost towny places where if they were smart, considering that there's a terrible housing shortage going on, Just take all these freaking ghost towns all over America and build. What are you waiting for?
I don't get it. Yeah.
Anywho, I did build. I constructed a 5-line comical poem about Bountiful, Colorado, or Colorado Limerick, of the damned. A Canadian visiting Bountiful bought bale after bale of its county wool, but she felt so sore 'cause 2 nights before her pussy was open and mounty full. If you want to complain, please send your messages to davesgoneby@aol.com. DAVESGONEBY, davesgoneby@aol.com. You can also post messages for me right here under the show on our Facebook page, or if you're a friend on Facebook, message me directly that way right here on Dave's Gone By on our Facebook page. But either way, whether you email davesgoneby@aol.com or get to me here, I read your stuff. I don't always have time to respond, but I definitely love the listener and viewer support. I love hearing from you what you liked. I don't really like hearing what you didn't like, but I should know. Your suggestions, all of it. Plus, remember to please check the Facebook page for the show. The Facebook page is this. The Twitter feed is Radio Dave 2. That's Radio Dave, the number 2. And of course, go to davesgoneby.com for all our archives. Want to thank one more time, very, very much, our guest in the Daverhood, Liza Gennaro. If you're looking for her on the web, remember it's 2 N's, 1 R, Gennaro, and her book, Making Broadway Dance, from Oxford University Press. Sounds really great. Liza Gennaro, just terrific on the show. You can tell why she is a dean at the Manhattan School of Music. Plus, I want to thank so much one more time Michelle Tabnick, the press person, for making that interview happen. Thanking so much to Leslie Hoban Blake. Make sure to watch her and our friend Charlie Gross in their video podcast, Critics Circle, that you can find on the Critics Circle channel on YouTube. And thank you very, very much to David Sheward. Read him in culturaldaily.com, theaterlife.com, and on his blog, The David Desk. So all these wonderful friends of the David, thanking them so much. And thank you to my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, for being part of the program. Want to let you know, coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're still juggling the schedule, but very excited to have, I'll get it. Hold on one sec. One of the things that kept me sane while I was at... Hold on, folks.
Is that how they sound?
Because I'm at the, we're in that ER waiting room last night, and I'm using my phone down to like the last 10%, and I've got my computer, and of course I don't have the charger, and we're not near the plug for a charger
anyway. You have the charger for your phone in the car.
I actually had a phone charger, but we weren't sitting near an outlet.
No, but you could take off the thing and plug it into your computer. Yeah, you can charge the phone.
If I could charge my computer, I can have a computer charger.
Yeah.
So it was moved all the way. But thank goodness I had a book to read. The book that was sent to me by by a guest.
You were there so long, you taught yourself to
read. I taught myself to read. I went from knowing a few words of English to being a speed reader. But no, I'm so glad I at least had the time to read part of, at least, this book that, I got a press release from this guy saying, oh yeah, I wrote this book. It's about my family. It's about showbiz history. Check this out, new book. It's called Sharky, When Sea Lions Were the Stars of Show Business.
And David, it said on the, one review said, what vaudeville show would have been complete without a talking or dancing or engaging seal?
It's a wonderful, I got about 70 pages into it last night when we were there, but just, it's full of pictures, a little hard to see because it's like, it's black and white grayscale, although the pictures would have been would have been black and white there anyway. But there's a guy. I hope he's not clubbing it to death.
That does not look good.
That's a seal. Who is it? It's probably
That's
Joe
the
DiMaggio or
problem.
somebody.
I think he looks like he's gonna whack it with a golf.
Oh, it's Ted Williams. That's
Is he
right.
gonna play golf on the seal?
Well, this one's a little more fun. This seal's getting a good look. Who's this? Is that Esther Williams or who that? That's Ann Curtis, Jumbo. So that is not Sharky. That's Jumbo and Adolf Kiefer. Don't know who these people are, but tons of pictures, and it's really literally about the place of trained seals during the vaudeville era and beyond. And this guy's family was among the people who was really training. They had a SEAL college, which was saying it's really amazing stuff and very, very funny. There's a chapter here, of course, a chapter that I love called Sharky Goes Broadway, all about, yes, this is true. Someone had an idea, serious truth. They were like, we need a Broadway show, a Broadway musical, and it should have a trained SEAL in it. And the amazing, the high-level people, Joshua Logan working on it, on a Rodgers and Hart Broadway musical show. And they were coming off a couple of big hits, too. And nobody told Rodgers and Hart, oh, by the way, this musical you're working on, we're going to add a SEAL to it. And yet, it's pretty funny stuff and pretty great stuff. So I am enjoying the heck out of this book. Look, how can you not enjoy that? Look at him. And it's quite amazing the things that seals have been trained to do. That it's more than just like they go into the horn. Pretty amazing creatures. We're going to hear so much more about them, about the greatest seal star of all, Sharky, and more about Gary Bohan's family and how they were involved in raising and training seals and bringing them through the era of show business. It's either next week or the week after. We got Gary Bohan coming on the show. I'm very, very excited, very thrilled about this. And then,
Is he gonna bring a seal?
Well, what does a car gasket and a walrus have in common? They like a tight seal. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Also, I don't want to jinx it because I have a bad feeling about it, but this could work out. If it does, in 2 weeks, we're going to have another major musician on the show. We've had Judy Collins back a week or so ago, and we've had some great people. We've had Matthew Sweet on the show, Loudon Wainwright III, Neil Sedaka, Gary U.S. Bonds. We have probably, hopefully, in conjunction with his playing the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to say the name because I really don't want to jinx it, but if we get it, it's going to be huge. And he'll be talking to... No. Even you will be like, oh, wow. Even you will go...
Will I know who it is?
Oh, you'll know who it is. And you're going to say, Rabbi Sala is going to talk to him, and you're going to be like,
Is it the Lord of the Dance?
This will... No, I can't, because it's set. It's supposed to happen. And yet I just have that feeling of like, well, I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed. But this is why you need to check davesgoneby.com. You need to check this Facebook page all week long just to make sure, just to see, what's going on next week? What's happening in the Daverhood? We will always keep you posted. Well, enjoy the very tail end of February. Enjoy the fact that we're less than a month away from spring now. Be happy that we're not thousands of miles away in Russia or Ukraine. Be happy we're making it through the winter. Be happy that COVID is at least for the moment, coming into our rear view mirror. Anything else to me? Purim is soon, I don't know what else to say. Honey, anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to talk about before we put this on the bed?
I'm happy my parents have heat.
Oh, that's right. Her, before all this stuff with my mom and the medical stuff, Joyce's parents, for a week and a half, had no heat. And it was fine. Their house was fine. It's another thing. House was absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And then a neighbor walks in.
No, an aide. She smells gas. Yeah.
And she's like, "What's that smell?" And I'm like, "What smell?" And they're like, "Is that gas?" And out of just a person randomly coming and saying, "That's a kind of a gas smell, isn't it?" Suddenly,
Not the human gas.
now we're into like thousands and thousands of dollars. A contractor, a plumber, one plumber that seemed kind of shady, so they didn't hire him. Then another plumber comes in, home equity loans. And it's like, is that one little line? Is that gas? And by the way, I hear that every time I get on an elevator with someone. So, but thank God, a couple of days ago they did the work. Guy named Anthony, whom her parents have been using for years. He's, as they say, expensive but well worth it, and got things going. And the PSC&G came in and turned the gas back on and the lights back on, and it's all. They never lost the lights. They never lost electricity. But on days when it was 25 degrees outside, they had no heat. So we were sending them space heaters and blankets, and electric blankets. It's been an interesting week for the in-laws. I will say that. May you not live, all of you out there, in interesting times.
Every single family members have come out of the blue to explain things to me.
Yeah. I think we just need a weekend before I get back to my day job on Monday, because this is supposed to be a fun off week for me.
Stop scratching.
And basically
You're
it's
not
just like,
gonna put on the gloves and put on your cream.
oh, me like it. I'll explain that later. Anyway, you've been watching the 839th episode of Dave's Gone By. 840 next week, right here in the Daverhood, with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful wife, Joyce, and all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Please write to me, davesgoneby@aol.com. Please check the archives at davesgoneby.com. Please have a wonderful week, and gone by.
Days gone by.
Wait! Just occurred to me. Miserable as this week has been, even though they had a couple of happy outcomes,
Yes.
we have one more happy.
Oh, is it the M&M stacking?
No, we'll say
Oh, the M&M. Okay.
now. Look what came in the mail. All the way. I want to make sure our address isn't on here, but all the way from Canada. Behold. I wonder, what do you think this is, my darling?
I hope it's $1 million.
I hope $1 million will buy us like a 2-bedroom house in Keokuk. All right, hold on. Let's do this. It is not chalk. This freaks me. I don't know why. I did not order chalk. Haven't used chalk since I was teaching at UNC. What is going on here? Oh, I should have. Oh dear. I should have done a little more cutting of the.
You need help?
No, I'm good. Oh boy. Papito. What do you think it is? Don't know. What about you're older? Do you have any idea? Let me check.
Is it ketchup or mustard?
Chalk. It's chalk. What the hell is chalk? No, it's not chalk potato. It's let's open this up. Oh my. Is your heart beating as fast as mine is? Then get to the ER and wait 7 hours. Here we go. It's in a bag. I can't tell what it is.
I think I know.
What could it possibly be? What on earth could have come in the mail into the Daverhood this week to cap not a terrible week, but a very difficult week? Oh, look. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's another potato. Look at the pinkness of the ribbon. He's got his little tag, his nice feet. He's got pretty good hi. He's got his little tushy tags. His eyes are good. What do you think of it? He's beautiful, isn't he?
He's a little chunky, but he's good looking.
Well, yeah, he's got a little bit of a face thing here. We can send him to the botched people for that. But hello, potato. Welcome to the Daverhood. Happy almost springtime. How you doing? Long journey, long flight. Well, that's true. He came all the way from Canada do you eat ketchup there in Canada? We put it on donuts there.
Oh boy.
They're very strange people. Hey, can we watch Olympic hockey? No, nobody's
boy.
watching
Is
Olympic
it
hockey,
estimates
Potato.
next curling?
Well, do you like watching? Do you like curling? I don't have hair. What am I going to do with curlers? No, not curling. Dude, you know what? We'll bring him back next week, and he'll be much more in tune with what's going on. He's beautiful, though, isn't he? Potato, say, take us out of the show and say "gone by." Okay, so just say "gone by."
No.
Goodbye. No. Gone.
Oh, no.
Gone. Bye. 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 Gone. Bye. Okay. Hi.
Oh, honey.
Yeah. They're worse than seals. They're kind of hard to train. Can you juggle, Potato? Can you? Let's see if we can. Not bad. We'll see how he does next week. And gone by.
Days gone by, days gone by, days gone by,